when he has been silently complicit, serving an administration that targets people, racially profiles people, you know, is basically persecuting and torturing Latinos and Latino immigrants, is taking away voting rights from the African Americans, firing people for the color of their skin. So it just, to me, it's heartbreaking.
He is the son of immigrants from Cuba that came here in 1956. How dare he stand by complicitly and allow Latinos to be rounded up, allow American citizens to be shot in the face and shot in the chest and shot in the back? How dare he allow the voting, stand by idly while the Voting Rights Act is gutted and disenfranchising African American.
Christy, my assistant Christy here, Latina, Cuban, live in Miami. Have you been persecuted and or tortured under Marco Rubio?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Did you guys hear that? How dare he? How dare he go after Latinos? Yeah, we got to make sure we get that accent, and we got to make sure we include our supposed lack of privilege, because despite we're on a TV show that everyone knows, despite its absolutely abysmal reputation, we also show our representation in those poor, unfortunate minority classes that are just so repressed by this evil administration and that damned Marco Rubio. I thought that was particularly a really funny one this time, though. I had to throw that one in. There's another one, actually, in the same show that, surprisingly, I had to kind of fight between which one I was going to use, and that one won out. I laughed harder about that one, so I picked that one. Oh, we'll play the other one probably at a sooner show. It involves crime, particularly crime in New York City, though. So, and I'm not really going to be discussing that so much today, as much as, well, maybe something around Marco Rubio and but more around the concept of the administration's work on its foreign policy. So, but anyway, and in particular how that's going to be going, because if, oh man, imagine my surprise. Well, nah, you don't have to imagine my surprise, because there was no surprise. I wasn't surprised at all, because I've been actually saying this for quite a while, and I'm more surprised that not many other people were really seeing this, or at least seeing it to the degree that was an obvious reality that I was noticing. And if you guys have watched the show enough, you probably recognize, because, excuse me, I talk about this all the time. I was so surprised how every day I'm watching someone who is, yeah, I guess I have to assume that it's mostly coming out of paranoia, or, let's be honest, I guess, just a sense of, like, disappointment after years of constant disappointment, based on people who cave and who aren't going to even put up a fight, or going to challenge the insane assertions of people who really couldn't care less about what it is that they're talking about. They just want some cheap points, so they're going to say whatever they have to say. And well, I could understand, after a while, it just becoming kind of a redundancy and getting more and more demoralized as time goes on. But right now, of all things, like, I just don't see now as being a time when that would be nearly as applicable as it seems to be amongst a lot of people. There's also the crowd, of course, like the Candace and Tuckers, who are seemingly hoping for and now Nick Fuentes as well, who are hoping for the administration, I guess, to fail, because they, I can't tell. Motivation, I'm sure, is different person to person, but overall, I really can't tell what it is. because it's a hell of a shift. And well, for some of them it is. Some of them it's more predictable, but not so much with Tucker. Not so much with with Nick. Yeah, I gotta say, not that he'd go not that he'd support Democrats, but then again, he's spiteful enough to do it. So I guess, and ideologically, I just don't see. A lot of people say he has. I mean, I've been wanting to kind of go into depth about this for a while. I'm not going to do it on this show, but if I really want to, I could go in depth about Nick Fuentes and his reputation that he's earned based on his own actions. This isn't just shit that was taken out of context or made up. No. This is stuff that he himself has either done or supported or been involved with or whatever. And I mean, it kind of makes me chuckle when people say that it's because of his Christian morality that he's saving himself from marriage. I'll say one piece. This is coming from the guy who scoffed at everybody who wanted to have a prayer before they had dinner when he was hanging out with this group of like-minded people. He just was scoffed, acted like it was a complete waste of time, didn't want to involve himself in any sort of Christian ritual whatsoever. So I just, call me crazy, but based on a lot of the stuff I've heard about his character in person, I just don't think he's anywhere near the supposed, devout Catholic he proclaims to be, or devout Christian who's just, following his faith like he would proclaim that is the motivation behind all these things. So my mouse is in the way. Sorry about that. Okay. Anywho, but that's not what I'm talking about today. So I'm not going to get into it that deep. But oh boy, there's some nicknames out there I could get into detail about that are pretty interesting. But instead, I actually wanted to kind of go over this because I think this is really, like I said, this is really kind of something that I saw coming for a while, and the whole gerrymandering thing was kind of the final proof that I needed to kind of tell that the Democrats are not where they need to be for the House to just be swept over like everyone's expecting. Because when I heard the other thing that did it was I remember somebody saying, like, well, what is the proof that you have that you would say that the Democrats are going to kind of win in this this midterm election cycle when they seem so disorganized? And his proof, the only thing he had to say was pretty much that, well, typically Democrats do win. Typically the opposition party wins when the other party's candidate has just won the election in that same cycle. It was just a historical precedent. That was it. That was the only reason why he thought that was looking likely. Now, okay, yeah, that makes sense in historical context, but you're not going to take into context any of the current events, because, okay, I get it. Like, there's a lot of people out there who hate Trump, of course, but I think that people are playing a game when they're either playing a game or they're trying to deny the reality when they are just counting the people that are really loudly and angrily shouting about Trump, when they're just ignoring the group of people that are all still pretty much supporting the guy, and the numbers have not changed much. I mean, there's been a slight tilt of the people that really just it seems like the people that were always not in support of him, some of them were won over by the fact that he ran a pretty good campaign, but I think some of them also it blows my mind that it took less than 2 years, but some people have already forgotten the open border, the drug trafficking, the human trafficking, the missing kids. They've forgotten the mask mandates, the vaccine mandates. They've forgotten the social media, the Disinformation Governance Board. They've forgotten Christopher Wray and his lies. They've forgotten the January 6th persecutions. They've forgotten all this stuff. They remember it, but they haven't remembered what it's like to be living under it, which blows my mind, because it's like, we were living with an open border for 4 years. I remember fucking watching that damn the scenes from that border fucking every day. It was bad. It was really, really bad. And I think, there is, there is some validity in the fact that Trump kind of did that a little too fast. He just kind of closed it, and it was closed, and then no one talked about it. And that was like within the first month. And then you move on to the ICE operations, and everybody's suddenly condemning it when it's like, okay, but this is what you wanted. This is what you were voting for. This is what we all voted for. And I know that, it's not a fun thing to see all the time, especially when it's somebody that may not be so deserving of any kind of direct punishment. But you got to remember, that's not ICE's decision. ICE is not the ones, and hear me out on this. You might be kind of the people who don't really follow all the decisions that are made and might not recognize the fact that ICE is not going after people and just going into neighborhoods and randomly scooping people up. No, that's the Democrat line that they keep using. They use that over and over again. It's a broken fucking record at this point. But that's not what's happening. That's never been the strategy. They have wanted to be let into the jails and be brought into places where anyone who is detained at all by law enforcement, even if it's just for something like a speeding ticket, if this is an illegal who has a record, or an illegal that just has done something and broken the law, I don't care. The whole justification of it's just a misdemeanor, it's not a felony, I couldn't care fucking less. I don't care. They already broke the law to get in. I don't care if they are breaking the law by jaywalking. If it's I love using that term. It's just funny because no one ever gets busted for jaywalking anymore. That's not a thing. Even if there's like technically like a law against it, I've never heard of anybody saying, "Man, god damn it, I got a freaking jaywalking ticket." I've never heard that. Maybe somebody has, but I've just never seen anybody in my life ever get a jaywalking ticket. So, but I don't care what it is. If they're breaking the law and they're illegal here in the country, then okay, yeah, get rid of them. That's kind of already, I mean, okay, let me put it this way. I've never been arrested. So, call me crazy, but I think it's an easy standard to hold yourself to. If you're in the country illegally and you're getting arrested for something, you're not, the chances are you're not some choir boy who's got no intent to do anything that would be against our laws at all. There's something obviously going on here where it's somebody who doesn't respect the laws on multiple levels. So you could have it in a very simple method where people in the prisons, people in the jails, people who are detained under any reason that have broken the law, and ICE finds out, they find out the person's in the country illegally. They've wanted to do it this way the whole time because it's so much safer for the agents, it's safer for the community, it's safer for everybody involved. Then you wouldn't get situations like Renee Good and Alex Preddy. They're two fucking goddamn favorite cases. I'm sorry, I'm a little worked up already. But you wouldn't get those cases because ICE would be going into the jails and they wouldn't be going into the communities to find the people they let out who have just broken the law, and they decide, whatever, this wasn't really a serious crime, so I don't want to see you get deported. Here, go. Yeah, there you go, have fun. Like, it is so apathetic to the idea of law enforcement, first of all, which I guess I should kind of clarify. It's usually not the law enforcement officers themselves that actually want to do this. It's normally DAs and governors and people in charge at the state level that are anti-Trump, that are trying to freaking make a statement about how they're sanctuary city. I mean, just look at the freaking... I think I have this statement on here somewhere. I can try and find it. But Katie Porter in the gubernatorial debate in California just recently was saying, something along the lines of just emphasizing that we're a sanctuary state and we have to be able to. So basically inferring the idea that we're going to make sure we enforce sanctuary law. Okay, so you're going to enforce sanctuary law, meaning you're going to arrest federal officers for doing their job in arresting illegal immigrants. I somehow think that's not going to be a thing. And if it was, it would be a very, very bad idea. Because that's asking for, some sort of federal versus local law enforcement showdown. And that's what we've been trying to avoid since the very beginning. That's why the whole Minnesota thing was so freaking tense to begin with, and why Tom Homan got sent out there in the first place after Renee Good and Alex Preddy and the whole thing. I'm sorry, I just scoff at the ideas because they keep saying they keep I hate this line. This is another one I hate. Americans shot in the face. Oh, you mean the one American who was trying to run over an ICE officer who got shot in the process of hitting the guy. That's the one that you're talking about. We're not talking about Americans. We're talking about one American who was a psycho and tried to run over an ICE agent and got shot. I don't know if in the face was a decision based on doing it because it was the face or because it was the only part showing behind the damn steering wheel. But, that's kind of important context to make sure you don't leave out. I also am, once again, same situation in this one, but like shooting people who are unarmed is like, yeah, because you just took the gun in a high-pressure situation where he took it to a rally where he'd already been violent many times before. Like, people knew this guy and knew what he would do. We have video of it. We have video of one instance where you can guarantee if you're at the point where you're already kicking out taillights for people's vehicles that are in law enforcement, that's not step one. That's after you've gone to your share of freaking violent protests and you've been involved in a number of them, most likely. That's not a novice. That's somebody that's a veteran. But anyway, I'm tired of it being, it's the same thing, and I've said this before as well. I don't want to see any Americans in the military get killed at all. But they keep constantly saying 13 Americans dead, 13 Americans dead. And you notice like the count never goes up because we're not losing people, And that's a good thing, I think. I think that's a good thing. It's tragic that we did lose 13 people. I'm not downplaying it. But you can't keep using the 13 dead Americans line when that was from now 2 months ago and the end of the beginning of the ceasefire, which was being, at this point, I get why Congress is flipping out, but they're only flipping out because they won't use any of their authorities for anything anymore because the Democrats are going to block everything the Republicans do, and it's just such a shit show there. And you want to know why? You want to know why the midterms are turning out to be something that is going to be potentially not like they plan? Well, it's because of shit like that. It's because of shit like not allowing any kind of decision to go over, not making any decision whatsoever, forcing the Republicans, which I hate the idea because I still am I don't think it's radical. I don't think it's radical to say the idea that that we needed to do a reconciliation bill just to pay our federal agents because the left refused to because it involves funding ICE, even though they've already been funded, just to make a statement about how we refuse to fund a road agency that's going after American citizens. They're not going after American citizens. Sorry. That's just not a thing either. That's just more bullshit. But, oh man, it just freaking, it really freaking gets under my skin to no end when you listen to the line after line and you take into consideration because they're just trying to throw out a bunch of points that they think are damning, and if you put context with it, you get why, okay, this isn't what you're making it out to be. This is something totally different. You're just using it as a talking point because you need reasons as to why you're so staunchly against Donald Trump and the Republicans right now. The Republicans in the House and the Senate. Who, let's just be clear, the Republicans in the House and the Senate versus Donald Trump, they're probably still on pretty different wavelengths as far as their agenda on what they want to accomplish. But I will say this, there's been, as far as, especially with the House, there's been far more that I see them do that I'm happy to see them do than there was under Democrats when, it was constant impeachment after, hearing about this and that. It's constant, nonstop, never ending, one after another, day after day, hearing after hearing about, well, Trump passed this, or Trump did this that he shouldn't have done. well, Trump did that, they shouldn't have done. Trump did this, and it was not, it was against the law. Oh, this person used to work at the ATF and says Trump slept on the job, and like, it's so ridiculously pathetic that there's like, you think the Congress sucks right now and they're not getting anything done. Oh, be prepared. Watch what they do under a Democrat leadership. Hopefully we won't have to. It's looking like, and this would be impressive if Mike Johnson keeps the gavel again for a third term as speaker. Oh man, that's setting a record for me. I haven't seen a three-term speaker, which is kind of sad. But I don't even think Pelosi. Now I know that she's probably held it for 3 terms in a row. She's been in the Senate or the House long enough, and she's been pretty much the leading voice in the House long enough. But as far as why does this thing keep doing that? Hold on. It's acting weird on me. Hold on. Let me do it like this. Okay. I'll stay on this page now, just in case. And, here, close that too. Okay. And I can bring this up and there. Okay. But yeah, I can't remember because I know at the beginning of Trump's first term in 2016, there was a Republican majority, and then that flipped in the midterms then, and that was when Pelosi took over. Pelosi took over until halfway through Biden's first term and only term. I'm pretty sure we can count on that being Biden's only term, by the way. So that was 2 years, right? Or 1? Midterm? No, it was 2. Yeah, because it was the midterms, and then they won again. Supposedly won. I think they won the House. I don't know if they won the presidential election, but they did win the House again. But anyway, and then they supposedly won the Senate too, which they probably did win that as well. I don't know. Once again, the only thing I know was raised seriously was the presidency, so I don't know about any serious congressional or senatorial candidates that were basically contesting their elections, and if there was, there were not many. But anyway, to go back to because then the Senate stayed. I'm trying to remember the Senate stayed with the Democrats, and then the Republicans won the House in the middle of Biden's term. Kept it for Trump winning then, and yeah, that's why. Okay, so and Mike Johnson would, if he would. The only thing was, it was Kevin McCarthy that was originally the speaker in 2018 when they... No. Was that 2018? Was it that long ago? No, that was when Pelosi got it. It was 2022 when Kevin McCarthy was first... Yeah. So 2022, Kevin McCarthy took the gavel. They contested his speakership partway through. They had that long period where they couldn't decide on a speaker. Mike Johnson finally won it out, which that one seemed like it was a long shot to me, but they'd gone through so many different people. I knew a lot of people wanted that. My thing was that a lot of people wanted Jim Jordan to get the gavel. A lot of people wanted, like, certain people that they wanted to get the gavel. I thought Andy Biggs was a great choice. I think that would have been a really good choice for a speaker, but a lot of people didn't really see it that way. That Andy is really kind of more of a much more really an old school conservative, to be honest. He's kind of got a no nonsense approach to everything. The one thing I would say is that there's a lot of times where he seems like he's got a little bit more of a and this is why I don't know if he would have made a great speaker, but it would have been kind of hard to see how effective he would have been at winning over members, because he seems like he kind of has a way of kind of more forcefully trying to get people on board than persuasion, I think. Or maybe he's not like that at all in person. It just seems like that's the way it is in proceedings. And they can be hostile, so it could be partisan. I don't know. I don't know the guy, so I don't know. But in any case, the biggest problem with what's going on right now is not even anything I've talked about. It's the fact that, number one, I'll just say this. I've said this many times before, and I'll just say this again. Hakeem Jeffries looks like a fucking idiot. Okay? I'm sorry. Hakeem Jeffries is a fucking fool. He's a goddamn clown. He's got, and I'm sorry. I keep letting it slip today, and I just, man. I'm in a much better mood in general, even though I sound so angry. I'm in a much better mood today. But like I've been watching this stuff all day today, and oh man, and yesterday too. And it was like, by the way, I slept most of the day yesterday. Sorry about the stream a couple of days ago. I needed to sleep. I really needed to sleep. I spent a long time asleep, a long time, and then I kept falling back to sleep. So it was a little hectic, but anyway, but like I said, yeah, Hakeem Jeffries is just, I think people just don't like the idea of, like I said before, he's one of the most unimpressive people I've ever seen be put into a position like minority leader of the House Democrats, when the guy, like, he doesn't sound authentic ever. His quips, his insults, his talking points that he uses constantly is all phoned in, like half-assed, very inauthentic, very lazy, and constantly does nothing but he's got the typical sort of perspective of steer the conversation into Trump as much as you can immediately, because he hardly ever answers any question. I've never heard him ever answer a straight question with anything except for some kind of tirade agreeing with what they're saying, but then eventually going to Trump did this and that and this and this and this, and so obviously we're right. And that's what I think is at the heart of all of this, is that you can't have the platform you're standing on be, we're anti-president of the United States, therefore vote for me. Like, that's not a political platform. That might be your political, motivation for your platform, but that's not a platform. That's not you don't. But unfortunately, that's really just genuinely the way they've always governed. That's what we saw in the Biden administration. The whole thing was just anti-Trump. It was getting rid of everything Trump put in place, every of course, every executive order, but everything that he did, even in terms of legislation, it was like, no, we got to undo this, we got to undo that, and he defies the Supreme Court. It's like, yeah, Biden did that too, several times. Not the least of which, and probably the most infamous, being the, as I've said before, when the court tells you that the President of the United States can't allocate money to people who are enrolled, students who are enrolled in universities who've taken out student loans, you can't have the president just forgive those loans and pay back the money that they're out. That's not what a president has the power to do. That Nancy Pelosi herself said the president doesn't have the power to forgive debt. That was back when, of course, it was Trump who was president, and he didn't forgive any debt. But who wants to let that stand in the way of a good, important point to make? Well, these poor students who are taking out loans just to go to school, and they can't even pay back the loans. Well, maybe they should have thought of that when they got the idea in their head, and this wonderful idea that they're going to be a social worker for their career path, and they were going to take all the ridiculous courses that some stupid leftist college was going to have on offer about white fragility and white privilege and the suppression of the black vote and all the other garbage that I'm sure, when they're not taught anything about, which I'm actually gonna go into this today because I thought this was really important. It's kind of hearkening back to something I've talked about on the last few episodes before before I freaking disappeared. Well, actually, no. It was the first episode I came back from. But anyway, yeah, this is just, it's absolutely ridiculous to see the platform that they take be just anti-Trump all the time. And that's what they think. When, as I said at the beginning of the episode, they just aren't taking into account that, yeah, your base has gotten a lot louder. The Democratic base has gotten a lot louder, and let's be honest here, a lot more dangerous. A lot more dangerous, a lot more radical, a lot more willing to state their radical agenda. I mean, it's pretty scary. When you have an assassination attempt and several people all over social media are going, "Why'd you miss? Why'd you miss? Why didn't you succeed yet again?" I think we have a little bit of a problem on our hands, and the problem is not free speech. The problem is not authoritarianism either, by the way, which, for all these dumbass fucking idiots out here who think that Trump is so anti-free speech, he's cracking down on Americans. Please tell me how the president, who doesn't call for social media like the last president to take down, people's speech, which actually could be considered threatening, because you're literally letting somebody say, "I wish that this person had actually killed the president." That is allowed to stay up. No consequences for the person that said it, except for maybe in their personal life, some people realizing what a fucking psycho they are and hopefully fucking deciding, I don't know if I want to associate with this person. Maybe that, if there was some luck involved. But aside from that, no action whatsoever. Meanwhile, if you talked about how the coronavirus came from Wuhan, China, the previous administration wanted to ban you off of social media forever. So I'm sorry, where's the authoritarianism here? I'm having a hard time. I'm struggling to see it, because I'm seeing everything but authoritarianism in this current administration. What I'm actually seeing is, a pretty lenient administration that is more focused on the job at hand than policing social media and people's free speech, which, once again, there was, and this is really probably one of the strongest cases against the Democrats. They don't care about an assassination attempt on the president. They don't care about an assassination attempt on Brett Kavanaugh. They don't care about a successful assassination on Charlie Kirk. They don't care about the successful firebombing of Tesla dealerships. They don't care about successful firebombings of crisis pregnancy centers. They don't care about none of that. All of which you could argue are either violent actions or support of violent actions. Hell, they all are supportive, either violent or supporting violent action. Like, that's what they all are. And yet there's this strange narrative of suppression of free speech and First Amendment rights being denied. Like Don Lemon and his stupid, ridiculous attempt to describe away the fact that he bursted in a church during Sunday services with a mob that was annoying as hell. They're never good. And like, these assholes are all freaking, nobody's even gone to jail. And Don Lemon hasn't gone to jail. He's been called in front of a court, and he's probably not going to have any choice, unfortunately. Because once again, the 34 count felon, 34 count felon. Yeah, okay. And what do you guys do again? I forgot. What do you guys do? Oh, that's right. You cheer on assassins and assassination attempts, and you get angry when they fail. You're all talking about Hassan Piker saying, "Oh, everyone knows what you're talking about when you say just do it." And we're not talking about Nike here. We're talking about just killing the president as just do it. That's what we're talking about. So there may be some issues with Secret Service. I would agree that there's probably some, there should never arise a situation where someone gets close. I would say that I don't know what exactly transpired, second by second, in terms of the White House Correspondents' Dinner assassination attempt. I do know, however, though, that the reason the guy got apprehended was because he tripped. Because he tripped and fell. So, and yeah, he was trying to bolt pretty damn fast through that whole area. But, I mean, you know the guy's armed. You know he's shot at Secret Service officers. And you know he's bolting towards a room where the president, the vice president, the Speaker of the House, and who was the other? And Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. They all are in that room. That's where that guy's headed. And FBI director and a bunch of other administration officials. He's bolting towards that room, and what ends up? He ends up tripping and falling. It really is like this is a clown world that we're in. You guys, this is unbelievable, and yet that's what we live in. So, meanwhile, what do they bring up? January 6th as the great threat to the democracy. The great threat to the republic is January 6th, with all those unarmed protesters that were let in by FBI informants and probably undercover FBI agents that undercover FBI agents, not that I know officially. I do know, however, that there's a ton of people on the FBI's payroll, over 200 as a matter of fact, which Clay Higgins called all the way back in the time when Tucker was still pretty much still had his head on straight. That's because he was talking to Tucker himself about this whole thing. That was when Clay Higgins talked about this, and he was 100% right, which I'm sure Tucker wouldn't bother to, wouldn't even probably bother to talk to Clay Higgins again anyway, but I love Clay Higgins, that guy. So hardcore. But yeah, so once again, you can't bring yourself to ever come to any kind of conclusion except for what is anti-Trump. You want to stand on a platform of fighting against Trump, and once again, the group of people in support of that has gotten quite loud, but they were already pretty loud to begin with. They're just getting louder and louder because they're angrier and angrier. And that's what you're relying on as your winning message for the midterms. Because, once again, you've got Timu Obama, or Dollar Store Obama, Dollar Tree Obama, Discount Obama, whatever you want to call him, is out here talking about how, well, you know what? Why don't we just play the clip, because it's so stupid and hilarious in the first place. And it can kind of kick us off into doing, I am going to have to... Here, hold on. I think if I zoom in a little bit, it's going to be all right. Still, let's see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I should be able to get... Yeah, that's fine. Okay. I didn't want that. I got a new mouse, and it's actually... This is the most comfortable mouse I've ever used, but it does have a little bit bigger of a bump for your palm, so where am I going to be able... Yeah, that's fine, whatever. You see the top of my hand, but whatever. Anyway, let me just go back to this, because this is Akeem with his strong message, his real strong message for Republicans that were wanting to redistrict. Meanwhile, their redistricting thing kind of fell flat on its face, and they don't really know what to do about that. It's just here it is. Yep. Yeah, and this is also, I think this has also got the Ron DeSantis response on it. So, yeah. Which, by the way, I got a slew of video clips like this that we're gonna have to get through. So just bear with me while I pull this up. But like this is, I'll give you a hint. I think this has something to do with why right now. Well, you know what? I'm gonna play this clip, and then I'll play you what I'm kind of referencing mainly, at least one source for the information I'm talking about in this, because there's been some new data coming out that has been all about the midterm predictions and how they've changed pretty drastically over the course of the last couple months, and it's pretty interesting to see. So with that, let me pull this up, because everybody was prepared for these new numbers, of course, and they really honestly, they really seriously shot themselves in the foot with these stupid ideas of redistricting everything, where they, by the way, already had some pretty bad redistricting maps that were gerrymandered to the point that it was ridiculous in the first place, but then they're trying to make it as bad as, like, you know, in California, like, let's take all the districts away from Republicans. And in New York, all but one. But they tried to even redistrict again to get rid of that one. It didn't work in New York because, unfortunately, you know, everyone might have forgotten they already had a case that was heard too, and that's unconstitutional. They don't know the laws of their own states that they're in control of, yet they want to do anything and everything to make sure they gerrymander it to the point that, you know, it's never going to ever be red ever again, or even purple. They don't want it to even be purple. So, okay, anyway. But this is where Hakeem was, oh man, he was all fired up. He was ready to go. He thought this was just, he thought he was really gonna stick it to the Republicans in this speech, even though he sounds like a fucking idiot. But, yeah, you can just look at it now and just kind of laugh because, yeah, I mean, I did at the time too because he sounds stupid, but he really sounds stupid now. And I've heard he's been pretty upset since he sank about $80 million into the Virginia redistricting effort, only to have that go and fall flat on its face by, oh, not constitute. Yeah, not the result I think Hakeem wanted, but unfortunately, yeah, that's how it goes. Sorry, Hakeem. Price is wrong, bitch. Anyway, let's go back. I gotta remember the soundboard, man. I'm trying to remember the soundboard more often, but anyway, here he goes. Let's listen to what he has to say because it's just too funny in the first place. So, here.
Our message to Florida Republicans is F around and find out.
Oh.
If they go down the road of a DeSantis dummy-mander, the Florida Republicans are going to find themselves in the same situation as Texas Republicans, who are on the run right now. And under no circumstances are Texas Republicans picking up 5 seats. They'll be fortunate if they get 2 or 3. While in California...
This is so stupid. This is so stupid. I'm sorry, but no, I know your dream is to turn Texas blue. Like, that's the big holy grail to Democrats. They want Texas to be blue so bad. It's not happening. Sorry. It's not going to work. I know that's what you want because you just want... it's the same reason you want to turn... You want to pack the Supreme Court. You don't want Democrats to ever lose at anything, ever. And you want Texas to go blue because it guarantee every election for Democrats for the rest of time. But sorry, it's not happening. Not going to happen. I don't think Texas is the kind of state to say, here, go ahead and take it. I don't think they don't. I think they're going to have a few things to say about that. I'm not from Texas, so I don't know, exactly what to expect. All I know is that it's not going to probably work out for you. So go ahead and tell us more. Tell us more, Hakeem. What California did that's so wonderful?
We are going to get
5.
Mm-hmm. The Republicans are dummy-mandering their way into minority before single.
By the way, no. First of all, no, they're not. And secondly, that's you guys. And secondly, don't try to trademark this dummy mander thing. That is the fucking most retarded line I've heard in a long time from a politician. That is, first of all, you're not Trump. Don't try. And secondly, that is cringy fucking shitty stuff. That is terrible. I don't expect anything from you, but maybe someone you got on your team somewhere could come up with something. Go with them. And let them come up with a term for it because you're fucking terrible at this. So go ahead, keep it on. You want to be the Speaker of the House. When you sound like a fucking ridiculous idiot. A ridiot. See, even that's better than dummy mander. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, you fucking moron.
Go vote as cast. Because they started this war, and we're going to finish it.
This guy Jeffries
Here we
popping
go.
off in Washington about Florida. He wants to be Speaker of the House, and he's kind of like, you know, more liberal than Pelosi and all this other stuff from New York City. I just want to know, I just say, oh, Florida can't do, we're going to go after Florida. Please be my guest.
Same thing
I
in
will
Florida,
pay
too.
for you to come down to Florida and campaign. I'll put you up in the Florida governor's mansion. We'll take you fishing. We'll do all this stuff. There's nothing that could be better for Republicans in Florida than to see Hakeem Jeffries, everywhere around this state. Voters will not like what they see. They will not want that type of ideology. And so the door is open. The invitation's out there. I don't think there'd be anything better for the Republican Party of Florida but to have Jeffries there. Now, I kind of feel bad for the guy because he's as left as they come. He's always going left. And yet the far left hates him. You know, they call him a dollar store Obama. They call him AIPAC Shakur, all these different derogatory names that they do. And so he's tried to ingratiate himself with but they're just not drinking the Kool-Aid, and so they give him a hard time. So I kind of feel bad for that. But please be my guest to come down in Florida.
DeSantis is so much better at this. Even DeSantis. I'm sorry, because, like, you know, this is why, man, I was so disappointed with DeSantis's performance in the election, or in the debates for the election, because he was so like what's the word? Like kind of self-censoring, going very, very like over the top to go as like as unoffensive as possible and everything. And it's like, and then I hear this, and it's like, that's the Ron DeSantis that freaking wins Florida. That's the one that freaking impresses everybody. Don't freaking lose that. Just keep it going. AIPAC Shakur. Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, this is you know, this whole thing about how they just assume they're going to take the. I've listened to a lot of conservative Republicans, some of them not Republicans, regardless, talk about what they are expecting or hoping to see in the midterms. Not one of them has sounded like super over-the-top confident that they were for sure going to hold on to the majority. None of them. They've all sounded like they're really going to have to pull out all the stops just to keep a slim majority in the House. They've all sounded very, very freaking restrained by like what they're saying. None of them have sounded super confident about it. Now, after what's happened with Virginia and what was the other state that really screwed them over? It was Tennessee. That's right. Tennessee, that wasn't exactly. Well, actually, I have a clip to play from that because this is kind of going to show why. Just another aspect of why I think they're losing, because this is the kind of attitude you can expect from Democrats, especially once again if they're part of the oppressed minorities of the unfortunate oppressed minorities. I'm just getting so tired of this ridiculous sort of. I mean, how long has this oppression Olympics been going on for? And we're still holding to this idea that it's because of people's race that they end up in this situation. You know, I've seen so many people successful as basically as Hispanic, Black, white, Asian, Indian, and not American, Native American, and Asian American Indian, Asian Indian that is an American. God, I can't even freaking. I don't know how to parse that when I'm saying those back to back. But anyway, the point is that I've seen people of all walks of life, all stripes, all different colors, all freaking types of origins that have been successful as hell in the United States. The idea that it's race that is the factor that's deciding anything anymore is so ridiculous. That's exactly why the Supreme Court struck down racial-based districts in redistricting state lines for elections. It's the exact reason why. This was passed at a time when you could argue that the states were not well, let's put it this way: they were using lines to do something that was opposite, and some states were trying to get people who were anti-African American or anti-black racists to go in and win a seat of some kind, and they had to district the state by discounting African American vote as much as possible to have that happen. We don't really live in that time anymore. When you get, when we live in a time when a social media post from 13 years ago where you were saying something insensitive to a Mexican American or even an illegal fucking immigrant, when you're saying something like that and it bans you from, employment for life pretty much. Yeah, I don't think that you have to worry so much about states districting based on race in order to get representation adequately distributed amongst the state in question. Like when we're in a time where just the word racist is a word nobody wants applied to them. In despite the fact that it really means so little now, because everybody's racist according to, according to, like I said in the last show that Jesse Lee Peterson is racist, and because he called Donald Trump the Great White Hope, so he's obviously a racist, but self-hating black man. And Brian Shapiro is going to show us the light, of course, because he's the arbiter of race relations. But it's just, like, that's the reason why. And yet you hear these constant freaking attempts to use that as some kind of cudgel, and it's gotten to a point where people, I think, are sick as hell of that too. They just don't, like I said, nobody really seems to care anymore when they get called racist because they've heard it a million times. I think that's kind of unfortunate because there should be a way to distinguish somebody. But I've said this a million times as well. I don't know what's so hard to understand about this, but I guess people just are really unfamiliar with hearing. Like, watch a documentary for once. Watch a mini series on the subject. Do anything but read books by the same fucking tired socialist writers that are trying to, bring about more segregation in this country, and then at the same time crying oppression. And when you see people who actually are racist, they are pretty damn vocal about how racist they are. When you talk to them one-on-one, now maybe some of them probably won't have a problem with this. They would walk around in a shirt that says, white pride or white power on it, but most of them aren't going to do it unless you know them personally. But if you do know them personally or are invited into their home or whatever, they're going to proudly tell you, yes, I believe white people are superior. Yes, I believe what black people should all be thrown out of the country. Yes, I don't think that race mixing is a good thing. Like, they'll tell you how racist they are, and they have no issue with it because that's what they believe. But, like, this whole constantly searching out for the racist who's hiding out amongst us, that's secretly hiding their races, it's like, it's just, no, that's not nearly as big a thing as you're making it out to be. Anyone that has some unconscious bias that they may be applying in certain situations, okay, maybe you can call that out, but that's hardly something to constantly be, first of all, acting like it's this big thing that's similar to Jim Crow. We're talking about open racism used to create political policy, and a guy who isn't recognizing that his political biases or his racial biases are manifest in his speech in ways that are very very obvious that he has some prejudices that are pretty you can rationalize with someone like that. You can explain to someone like that why they're wrong, and they probably will listen and will actually take it to heart and make an effort to do something about that. You can't do that with someone who's actually racist because they are proud to be racist, and they're not going to care. You're not going to shame them out of racism. What you're going to get is you're going to get them violent. And I haven't seen anybody really get openly extremely violent over anti-black racism who's a white person in decades. Like I did documentaries from the 90s about, and there's another place. It's in America, and there's quite a few places like this, but there is another place, and that's prison. Prisons are just like that. I've talked about this before, too. There's one place in the United States where racism flourishes, and that's in prisons, because you can't even talk to someone outside your race. But let's just be honest about it. It's racism amongst everyone. That's how you survive in prison. You have to only associate with your racial group, or you'll be in the hospital, or you'll be dead. That's not something that's tolerated in prison, and you'll fucking pay for. Now, I'm starting to notice, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, maybe I touched on it, but you're starting to notice a trend where the people going to prison are starting to become so from a different generation that they're looking around like, well, this is too segregated. This place shouldn't be so segregated. Like trying to politically correct the prison population's insensitive views on racial on segregation policies. I have no idea. Wow, it's unbelievable how stupid some people are on this subject, and yet they just keep doubling down on it like it's the only motivating factor that could possibly be at play for any of this stuff. Anyway, so like I said, I'm going to show you guys this. Let me see if I can find some of the really good examples I had of. Yeah, here we go. Oh, that was the intro clip from last time. I will play this right now, though, because if you didn't see the last episode, which I don't expect you to, this was what I used. It's a short little clip, but then I'm going to go into one particularly really good example of well, it's pretty much, I think it's a compilation. Yeah, it's a pretty decent little display of quite a bit of the talk on the left from people like Joe Scarborough and several of the guests that they had on how racially charged these decisions were for the redistricting decisions in these states. Like, it's just ridiculous. But first, let's play this because this is just absolute insanity and oh, where did it go? Oh, is this it? Yeah. So, this is it's just kind of funny, but it's an interesting clip. So
the city of Memphis has been split into 3 different districts now, turning each of these districts red, eliminating the 1 Democrat district, and unfortunately, this
man right here, Steve Cohen, Black Power gone.
Right.
Oh my God. This white Jewish man who was the representative from this black district, he represents Black Power. And the Republican candidate the black woman does not. I asked Grok to make a picture of Scott Cohen at a protest.
This is
and
great.
It made this.
Probably pretty close to what he's done.
Yeah, that's the Pelosi. That's the Pelosi.
I didn't write Black Lives Matter or anything. It just put him there.
Yeah, because you could. I mean, you would see him in a place like that. Now, I went into Scott Cohen's history and how he's just an annoying fixture at certain. Like he's got no real pull. He's got no real body of work in Congress that is anything substantial. He just backs up talking points that are tired, old, freaking anti-Trump shit. It's nothing really all that special. But let's take a look at this because, well, first off, take a look at this guy who is. This is a guy who's in the Tennessee House of Representatives, I think. The one that originally passed the redistricting effort there. Or, well, no, I'm sorry. The one who was voting against the redistricting in Tennessee and got beaten, and then noticed how bad it was going to, well, knows how bad it's going to turn out for Democrats because of how gerrymandered the state already was. Now it's looking like it's going to be a little bit more representative. But look at this. Look at the difference, and this guy, and then we'll go into what his behavior was like right after the decision came down, because it's really a sight to behold. It is really it's like I don't know how the hell anybody is going to cite U.S. racism as a really big issue when you got people like this guy doing stuff like this in their own state's House of Representatives. But here's the guy. His name is Justin Pearson. You may have heard of this guy. And it's it's a fascinating change. People might call this code switching. I just call it bullshit. So yeah, let's just see this.
I wanted to do this by partnering with organizations from the Boone Democrats to the Boone Republicans. I want to bring together different voices, dissenting voices that may be more liberal or more conservative, in order that we can reach a point of sort of the radical middle.
You've had 3 strikes laws, mass incarceration, denied us of who we are, and we are still here. And today, you will take the only majority black district from us.
What really happened on that
Here's my
Thursday here at
objection.
Augusta High School that led to Chris Wood's death?
The fuck is that? Shit! I'm dying in this fucking country-ass fucked up town.
I'm sorry I had to throw that clip at the end there because I love that clip. But yeah, doesn't that kind of look a little similar there? You got somebody who's portrayed as the nice, well-dressed, well-spoken campus leader on their college campus, and then they get to the House of Representatives in Tennessee, and suddenly they're fucking Malcolm X. And they think they're really standing up for the people of color in their state. Yeah, fuck off. Fuck off. You're a fucking... Which, I can back this up by clips I'm about to play. You're a sniveling, self-righteous cunt. I'm sorry. You're a absolutely self-righteous asshole. And the way you treat people is absolutely just evidence of nothing but that. But here's a little non-flattering display of the sort of meltdown among people like this piece of garbage as the decision came out. So let's
talked about just sort of the
now listen to
political
this
reality
lunatic.
of it all.
Yeah.
And I do think, I always thought that this would end up hurting Republicans at the end if they got their wish. But let's talk about the other side of it, which is, of course, Civil Rights Act gutted yet again. This has been the rights.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Civil Rights Act was not gutted because of this. In fact, the Civil Rights Act was not gutted by anyone except for people like you who are doing everything you can to resegregate, and that's the real irony of the situation. The idea of segregation is something that I think pretty much every American assumed was more or less behind us until we started hearing about, well, we need black-only dormitories. We need black-only graduation ceremonies. We need black-only districts. We need black-only this and black-only that. I'm sorry. What happened to segregation being evil and wrong and you shouldn't do it based on race and all that? Oh, that's right, because it's a political messaging thing. Right, yeah, you pander to a group of people hard enough, kiss their ass until they get your vote, and then you basically don't do shit for them at all except for give the same tired old divisive speech once you're in office over and over and over again, make a bunch of money and then run away, and then that was you devoting your life to public service, right? Fuck off. Yeah, just anyway, it gets under my skin so bad when you hear that kind of bullshit from people who couldn't care less at all about segregation, about racism, about anything like that, but they want to use the virtues of it, bring up like leaders in the movement who actually did give a shit, and ride their coattails and their messaging when they have no fucking clue what they're talking about. They don't even know the history of the country, let alone history of race relations in the country, and then they want to just pat themselves on the back, job well done, and meanwhile, not one thing ever gets fixed, not one thing ever changes. Nobody is, because let's be honest here, what exactly is the problem? Well, problems like low-skilled workers in the manual service sort of industries in the United States. Well, let's import a bunch of workers with no skills from all over the world and have them start working with no proof of ID necessary, no citizenship required, no nothing, and give them jobs. Those, make sure that those evil Republicans can't deport them. What about the black people? They'll get welfare. They'll be fine. That's what people like this. That's what they really think of the black vote. That's what they really. That's what they want. It's what they're trying to do. They couldn't care less about anybody, depending on where they come from, what their cultural history is. They don't care to know any of it. They don't care to know anything about American history and the struggle for any kind of equal rights or equal representation or whatever. They just want to use the cudgel. They just want to pick up the cudgel and beat Republicans over the head with it for a while. Then they'll feel a little better about themselves, and then they can go on to stupid TV shows like this, talk about their own virtue the whole time, and then they'll go home, stroke their dick, feel a little better about themselves. Which, I don't know if this, maybe this is a trans girl, I don't know. But, nah, she's not. I've seen her in a bunch of other stuff, so I'm guessing she's a girl. I couldn't care less. Anyway, the point is, go on, asshole, keep going. Keep talking about the evil Republicans more. It's
a dream since the Civil Rights Act was passed.
Yeah, I mean, I think to Jonathan's point, we actually don't know what this means for the national Republican or Democratic Party overall. That's going to play out. What we do know so far is that black political power in the South and therefore in the country has been severely diluted.
Oh, wait. So you don't know how this is going to play out. But what we do know is that the black vote has been diluted. How? You just said you didn't know how things were going to turn out. And it looks to me like a black Republican is getting voted in to office in Tennessee, but she's Republican, so she doesn't represent you, right? Because here's the problem, and this is why the Supreme Court and the Tennessee Supreme Court and the United States Supreme Court seem to be upholding this decision. Because once again, we're talking about two time periods here. A time period where, yes, there was segregation. We need to dissolve it. We need to make sure that we enforce it. And then we're also talking about now where the only segregation going on is black-only dorms and black-only graduation and black-only celebrations and George Floyd celebrations. Yet, and once again, black people are a member of every party and can be as successful or unsuccessful as they put the effort into being. And yet we have no idea how this is going to play out, but we know that black people are having their ability to be represented be undermined so severe. It's bullshit talking points. This is the Democratic Party losing the progress that they've made on pandering to a minority. This is not anything about a minority group losing rights. This is a political party losing the progress in pandering to the political group they thought was going to be their winning ticket, losing all the progress they made, feeling like they wasted all their time, which, to be honest, they kind of did, but it's because this was a fucking disgusting plan to begin with. And for all the shit they want to give Republicans about the Southern strategy, which, by the way, has been kind of debunked time and time again, but regardless, even if you were trying to use that as a point, that was like 60 years ago or something like that when they alleged this whole evil segregationists in the South were doing this. Like, okay, all right, does that happen now or anytime in the recent in recent history that there's been anything related at all whatsoever that has been able to gain any political? No. In fact, not one person wants to be saying that they like if there was actually a political battle going on, people that were pro-segregation or pro-racism versus a group that was anti-racist, I might agree with you, but since nothing like that's going on or has been going on in my lifetime, then I'm going to say bullshit and stop fucking projecting based on what Democrats say, because Democrats are losing their political power. It's nothing to do with black people or white people or any sort of racial group losing representation. It's bullshit.
And that's both in terms of representation, so the ability of these voters under Section 2 to choose someone who often happen to be black, but not always, the case with Representative Stephen Cohen in Memphis.
It's a great example, too.
But also in terms of the voting bloc. So I think it's really important that even though what Jonathan says has a lot of truth to it, it's also true that because of the gutting of the Voting Rights Act, these voting blocs have been split, not in two necessarily, but fractured, which actually makes it very difficult to have a moderating effect, likely, on these other districts. So it's going to be hard in Tennessee, for example, looking at the map. You know, black voters might be 20% of a district that is overwhelmingly MAGA. That's not really going to help them get fair representation.
Yeah, that's a serious problem.
I think that's still to play out. But it's clear just the swiftness with which these Southern legislatures moved, these Republicans moved, to eliminate black political power. It's clear that the Republicans see black political power as a democratizing force, which it is. They understand that. And this is a way to...
No, it's clear that Republicans see that black people also vote Republican, and you shouldn't basically, take a district that's all black, assume that they're going to fucking vote Democrat, and make it a district that you're sure is going to vote Democrat because they're all black. It's about racial segregation not being relevant anymore, as much as political segregation being much more important for representation. You dumb idiot. Oh my God. How is it? It's just the idea of a black Republican, she just can't fathom it. She can't understand how there would be a black Republican because they're trying to take our rights away. No, they're not. In fact, these black districts, I'd be willing to bet that the black people that are in the MAGA district you're talking about, yeah, I would bet they're black conservatives. Yeah. You know why? Because they're trying to separate the districts based on political demographic, not racial demographic, you dumb bitch. Oh my God. This is insane. Like, black does not equal Democrat, and that does not mean that you're disenfranchised. Jesus. How are people this dumb? Go on. Or
consolidate power.
Is it just
and it's also a way to express white supremacy. So it's both. And I don't think we should miss that. And yes, it's going to animate black people and many other Democrats who are angry about this. But I mean, Joe, because you're from the South, that what the South experiences is not unique. It's just in some ways more American. So I think a lot of Americans who are outside the South should take this as a wake-up call.
Oh, I do.
Their own rights
I do.
are
But
under
no,
threat.
not of
this
that.
is an attempt, I believe, to steal an election, and it may not work.
Oh, wait. What was that?
I believe in.
Steal an election. This is an attempt to steal. It sounds a little insurrection-y to me. Sounds like someone's suggesting some insurrection action that we take part in. Is that what you're saying here? You're saying you don't think it's going to work, but I mean, I'm guessing that in worst case scenario, if it does, well, you might not have any choice, right? That's what it sounds like to me. I don't know. This might be a terrorist threat. Swear, these people have no idea how good they have it.
Democracy. I believe in the ability of people to organize.
You
but
believe
make
in
no
that.
mistake, this is devastating. And the gravity of this is only beginning to make itself felt.
But it's going to be more like R plus 10.
I assure you, you will not ruin my morning, Scott Jennings.
It's going to be more like 10 or 11, I think, after all of this, because not only do you have the Virginia case, you've got Louisiana redrawing, Tennessee.
Let's put up the map if we can there, just to show the redistricting push. We calculate that Republicans have figured out a way to pick up about 14 seats. Democrats is about 6. So that's
this is amazing too. Here, and this is probably like they could have just let Texas do what Texas was going to do, because I didn't even know this part, but there's a reason that Texas did this beyond the fact that, I had heard the same sort of point that I mentioned the last time I was doing the show, that this was sort of more or less based on the fact that that we've just seen 4 years of an open border, of people across thousands of people, tens of thousands of people in many cases coming across every day, and a lot of them spreading out all over the country, but a lot of which staying in the border towns near Texas, and near the border, and that it was not really fair to people because of the fact that there was so much more of a, there were so many more people in the state that weren't supposed to be there, but were going to be counted because it was a population count, and it was needing to be addressed by redistricting, and like that was the kind of overarching discussion I'd heard about this. I didn't know that there was actually another reason. It makes not only way more sense, but completely explains away all the bullshit that we heard about this. And so this could have just been a situation where you just let them do what they needed to do to redistrict their state, because apparently they were blocked from redistricting in the last after the last census. Like Texas was specifically singled out as, no, you can't redistrict, and I don't even remember the reason given, but it was obviously right after the administration had the Biden administration had kind of been elected, and they were addressing a lot of the they were trying to address the issue, even though COVID was going on, and it's like. And I think that whatever excuse they used, it was something about COVID going on. But they weren't ever given the opportunity to redistrict their state according to the population count, because they were... it was up until the last election where they discovered that whole area of South Texas, all along the border, that had for so long been pretty Democratic, and it had been pretty much blue for a long time in most of the border states. In the last election, that all disappeared because they had been disillusioned, of course, and as far as I would guess, they've been completely disillusioned to the idea of what an open border is going to be like. It's like, oh yeah, we're finding dead people on our lawn, all our livestock killed or let out, or the gates are cut, everything's open, and livestock's gone, or it's killed, it's dead on the road. We've got we got people's trash everywhere. We don't want our kids to play outside with all the people that are running around all over the place. We've got threatening people coming up to our doors. Like, the amount of trouble that I can't imagine what it must have been like to live in South Texas during the whole entirety of the Biden administration. And the entire time that border, especially in the hot spots along the border, but across the whole freaking border, especially because in any case, because anything was fair game so long as they could get through. It was a free-for-all. Not to mention the increased drug cartel activity, drug trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking, just the amount of sketchy, shady-looking people, whether they were or not, and the fact that the federal government is trying to block attempts by the state government to be able to actually create barriers and to create protective protective steps to defend the Rio Grande and make sure that no one can actually come across the river, and if they can't make it across a barricade or whatever. And so, they were trying everything, but the administration they were cutting locks on gates. They were freaking knocking down physical barriers. They were using forklifts to lift barbed wire. They were doing everything possible to make sure that whatever Texas was trying to do, the only thing that really ended up sticking was the buoys in the water that they ended up putting up, that Biden and the administration were trying to say, well, people are going to drown. It's like, yeah, maybe they shouldn't try to swim across the Rio Grande then. But regardless, once again, this whole thing was like, nope, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. I know you're trying to protect the population, but it doesn't matter, you can't do it. Talk about the sovereign states, the whole idea of state rights, that was thrown out the window for Texas. So they try to redistrict, and they're told, no, you can't do that. It's a midterm year. It's like, well, yeah, but it's not a main election year. It's like a mainline presidential election year, and honestly, this is way overdue. We should have been able to do this a long time ago, but it's the first election since we haven't had incredibly radical Democratic administration that was preventing us from doing this, so we're going to do it now. And rather than, like I said, just letting Texas do their redistrict, no, they had to throw a giant temper tantrum and say, no, well, California's going to, oh, well, now New York's going to do it, and now Vermont's going to do it, now Virginia's going to do it. And once again, the problem is with states that are trying to do it, like, okay, California, I don't know how there was 5 seats that were going to be that go Republican. Yeah, I'm just being, even like I said, a resident of the state. Now, as I've also said before, most of the heavily Democratic districts are all in Southern California, and I'm in Central California. But regardless, even if it's the state being split up that way, like, okay, you're going to add 5 more and leave 1 seat that's likely to flip Republican. Okay, that's, wow, how generous of you. But in that case, there was nothing anybody could do, because I now, to be fair to the state, because I don't think, look, I walk around in stores and out on the streets and everywhere I want with a Donald Trump shirt on, and people see it, and I've even got compliments for it. I've only ever been having someone that obviously was opposed to Trump one time. Very respectful conversation. Very nice lady. She was a lady who was obviously, I think, a second-generation immigrant whose parents must have come here a long time ago. And she was Hispanic. She spoke she spoke English perfectly proficiently. She sounded like she didn't have an accent at all, nothing. So I'm assuming that, not assuming, I'm guessing based on the fact that she wasn't young, but she wasn't old either. So I'm guessing that she's probably second generation immigrant and working a steady job. And we had a discussion about how the immigration situation was handled, and I kind of gave forth a couple arguments about, because her main concern, and I could tell, was that she did not approve of violent criminals that were left in the state. She didn't approve of any criminals that were being left in the state. I don't think she knows the extent of how bad it is. But she was more concerned about people who had not committed crimes, have families, and are here. I get that. I understand why people are sensitive about that, and I wasn't going to challenge her on that. The only thing I put forward to her was the idea that if the state government would work with the federal government to be let into the jails and the prisons where there are illegal immigrants that are still there, but our tax dollars are going to pay for it. And I said this all to her. I was like, I think that you would see far less activity from immigration in this state or in any other state if they actually would work with the local governments if the local governments would actually work with the federal government to give that ask to them. I don't think you would see nearly as much controversy coming from it. And at the end, as I got done, we were kind of wrapping up. She's like, I can tell your heart is definitely in the right place. I don't agree totally, but I see more where you're coming from. So that's great. I'm glad to have totally freaking fine conversation. Not one problem. I get where she's coming from, and I understand it. That was not at all the kind of interaction that your typical conservative and liberal would have in the modern climate around these subjects, but she wasn't overly emotional about it. Now, when I could tell she was bringing up a subject, I was like, I'm not going to go in like with a really hardcore argument right out of the gate. I'm gonna approach this a little bit less intensely than I would somebody who's belligerent already or who's acting completely unreasonable. She asked me a few questions that were very, very straightforward and non-accusatory, very non-accusational, very, very respectful, and like I said, just seemed like we wanted to get to the heart of what it was that someone like me believed. And for me, like I said, the important thing, while I think anyone who is illegal should be removed from the country, realistically, the administration has to do what is within their power, and as Trump promised from the beginning, their focus would be on people who are here illegally that have already broken the law. Now, they can't do that, and the reason is predominantly because the states are making sure that they are protecting even the criminals from deportation. That's the number one issue that is causing the friction. But the people on the left, for the most part, don't seem to know that, and this lady kind of looked at me kind of sideways when I first was talking about that. She obviously, like I said, had no clue that people like mayors and governors in this state, and mayors and the governor in the state, were not allowing ICE to go, not allowing ICE to come pick up someone who is a criminal and in jail. And maybe they'd let you into prisons if it's somebody who's like a multiple murderer that they don't want in the state at all anyway. Maybe that will be somebody they'll let you in for, but even sometimes that's not even the case. The point is that even when it comes to that, that's an ask. But when it comes to people who, well, they're just drunk driving. You know how many people are killed by drunk driving? I'm sure the numbers are out now. People know this kind of stuff, but like people are killed all the time by drunk drivers. People are killed a whole hell of a lot more by drunk drivers than by racists trying to run down innocent immigrants. I can guarantee you that's more serious. And now it's becoming a situation where people who don't know how to drive, don't know how to read English, don't know how to read road signs, are getting into vehicles, driving around like madmen all over the place and hitting people, hitting children, hitting other vehicles, getting into accidents. And if it's a really bad scenario and they are driving a massive freaking semi-truck, and they still can't read, they're causing giant pile-up collisions on the freeway. I'd say all of these things are far more of a threat to the United States and the civilians than racist Southern American radicals who are terrorizing minority communities around the country. I haven't heard one time, and you bet your ass the news would be reporting it day and night without pause if that was what was going on. And that's one thing you can pretty much safely say almost in any given situation, that if there was a story, any story at all, that really highlighted some kind of extreme white racism being taken to an extreme level, you would know it. You would definitely know it. That's why they have to pay the ACLU to manufacture racism by giving money to the KKK and giving money to neo-Nazis, because they don't have enough money or prestige or recognition or relevancy to fucking even be noticed. And the one time they fund them with a bunch of money, they end up in a scene. Well, who would have guessed? Who would have guessed that would happen? And then what happened? Well, it's the reason Joe Biden decided he was going to run for office, because there's fine people on both sides. My God. Just the pearl clutching, the self-righteous, the fucking... the circle jerk they have to always be in to be able to freaking justify all this stupid crap. And that's why the map is the way that you see it now, because look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Illinois, California, I believe Colorado, Nevada, freaking Pennsylvania, especially New York and especially Illinois. These are states that have been gerrymandered to hell and back to make sure that there are as many Democrat representatives as possible. That's already happening. That's already a thing. There's so many Democratic states that at least are gerrymandered enough to give the edge to Democrats. In most cases, though, just completely wipe it out. But now in this case, because they just have to have their freaking Speaker Jeffries, and because they have to have their... They are desperately trying to make sure that Trump is a lame duck in the second half of his administration, and they can run nothing but endless freaking impeachment inquiries day and night on him. New impeachment every day. That's what they want. That's exactly what they want. That's the only reason they're so desperate to get this, because it's the end of Trump's second term. They do not want any more. They want him as ineffective and as easily controllable as possible, and to do as little long-term damage as possible. But they have to ensure that the result turns out to be in their favor. So when they see stuff like this, they don't like it. But you know why? Because these are the states that hadn't been gerrymandered, that had been trying to play by the rules, and well, look what we got for it. Look where we are because of that. So sorry, I have no sympathy. Sorry, you've been fucking everybody over for so long. We're not using our positions to play the stock market. We're not using our congressional authority for that. My husband buys and sells stocks, but yeah, and I'm sure you don't even talk. You don't tell him a thing. It's like, you know, for how there's never been a bigger group of hypocrites than the Democrat Party in the United States right now, except for maybe the self-destructive British people, which we'll be getting to in this conversation in a little bit. But man, oh man, when you see this, it just brings everything into perspective, because this is the state of how things are expected to go, and we're expected to see 14-6 swing, while there's a majority of Republicans in the House, but barely. Last I saw, it was just one seat swing. So, you know, they might extend that to a 6-seat swing. You think that's still going to be easy in the House of Representatives? And what have they been able to do? There's fights all the time over the most petty shit, because Democrats are kicking and screaming and fighting and whining and bitching and moaning every step of the way. It's insanely pathetic to watch the supposed representatives of the people conduct themselves the way they do in the House of Representatives all the time. It is fucking embarrassing. And yet that's what we have. That's what we're stuck with, because the endless moaning and whining and complaining has led us to a situation where, well, it has to be fair, it has to be fair, it has to be fair, where we need equal representation. How about people just, you know, do what they're supposed to do and vote, which, you know, like it or not, there's been a lot of talk about voting lately, and, you know, the history of the country. That's going to have to come in another episode, because, and how I feel about the situation, I have my own thoughts about it. I think there's a lot of validity to what people have said that are more sympathetic to traditional ways of handling elections in the country, or handling the political sort of discussion. But I will say this: when you have a population that you know for a fact cannot and is not adequately informed to make a decision that is justified in factual information as opposed to propagandized talking points, you're not going to get anything but a sort of roll of the dice random result in terms of a lot of specifics for representation in your legislative branch. That's just the way it is. And so no matter what the arguments might be, I am sympathetic to the fact that, we got a lot of people that either know nothing or think they know a lot, when it, like Dunning-Kruger sort of thing, when they know jack shit about what they're talking about, and yet will spew all day. And trust me, I don't know everything there is to know about the parties, but I do at least know enough to know right now. It should be blatantly obvious to everybody, what are the Democrats going to do that's going to make your life any better? All they've been able to do when they have power is raise taxes, raise the freaking cost of living, lower the quality of living, lower the quality of goods, lower America's standing in the world, lower the people's foreign opinion of the United States. They're not good at doing virtually anything except for grandstanding and propagandizing. That's like their two skill sets. That's it. Now, there was a time when I was younger especially, where there was a Democrat Party that was there to become, was playing the part at the bare minimum of attempting to balance out bad decisions like the Iraq War and overly aggressive postures in countries where we really shouldn't have been throwing our weight around, and that was the main talking point. Those days are long gone. When you got the Democratic Party, who is so constantly concerned with sending money to Ukraine while they condemn the president for a blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, things have seriously changed. But this, Democrats have no one to blame but themselves, because like I said, this could have started and ended with Texas, but they couldn't allow that because, once again, I think more than anything else, the prize of Texas turning blue is this fantasy that they have every night. They're jerking off to it, and they just can't see anything else that would be more of a sign that the Democrats have won. There's no more. It's hallelujah, peace on earth. Yeah, I'm sure, but that's just this pipe dream, and it's never gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Sorry. There's people in Texas. I hate to say it, but people in Texas have too much basic common sense, and they're too disillusioned by how ridiculous the Democrat Party is and continues to be. No matter what's happening in the world, they always seem to take the opposite stance of the one that makes the most sense. Anyway.
Net 8.
But you haven't. But Louisiana's still yellow. That's going to be another.
Yeah, it's all
Alabama's
in flux.
another one. South
flux.
Carolina mayor. We'll see what happens in South Carolina. So the point is, this is, and look, don't take it from me. Washington Post, New York Times, the math and the map totally upended. So just a few days ago, Republicans were in the doldrums about the midterms. Mm-hmm. Now, because of Virginia, because of the redraws after the Voting Rights Act case, you've got Republicans feeling resurgent. The map looks good. The money looks good. The candidates look good. So we actually have a real race here, whereas just a couple of weeks ago, Republicans were in despair.
But Republicans still have to win those seats. You
That's
literally are
true.
taking Memphis, which is a city that
needs to
with
be done.
black voters, and you split it in three, stretching 3,000 miles.
Who's the current Democrat congressman there? What is it, a black congressman?
Just because black people are allowed to like people that don't look like them?
Exactly. And that is the point I wanted to make, because just because you're not going to have a black congressman, why is it that a Republican can't do just as well representing black voters as a Democrat?
Because
why
they
does
aren't
your race,
electing.
Why does
because
your race
just because
determine your politics?
It doesn't. No. You're making my point, actually. Black people will elect people who will actually represent them, who have their best interests in heart. And what Republicans have done in Tennessee is dismantle the power for black people to have their voice. They did the same thing in Texas, because they said they thought Latinos were going to swing for Republicans. There are black people that are represented. I'm black, and I got a Republican president right now. Black people don't elect black people based on race. They elect people that are aligned with their moral, their beliefs in justice, and Republicans just took that that away from them in Tennessee and in other states.
I just disagree that the only kind of a politician who can elect black people in Congress must be a Democrat. This is just an artificial.
That's not what I'm saying.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Black voters are still fully franchised and can go vote for whoever they
That's
want.
not what I'm.
That's exactly what you're saying.
When
Oh, and
you're
here's the
saying
thought leader.
States like Tennessee want to wipe out every black representative on the map in these states. We have an obligation as Americans to stand with black Americans and communities whose representation is being disenfranchised.
Okay, first of all, no, we don't have an obligation to do anything, but there's a right thing to do and a wrong thing to do. The right thing to do would be to encourage black people to vote for whoever they think is going to best represent their interests. The wrong thing to do would be to assume that the Democrat is always going to be the best interest candidate for black people and say that because you have changed the districts around, that means black people are now disenfranchised. It's a ridiculous argument. It makes the assumption that they were trying to push, and they have been successful in a lot of people in convincing them of this, that blue means black. Blue means black interest. Blue means for black people's well-being, and red means racism and against black people. That is patently and blatantly absolutely fucking bullshit. That is completely absurd. Need another example? Virginia. Who is the governor right now? Oh yeah, Abigail Spanberg. That's right. And who was she running against? Winsome Sears. That's right, a black woman. Once again, yet another example of when that black representation just doesn't count. Who cares about that? We got to get the white woman in. She's gonna better represent black people, not that black woman. I'm sorry, what? And the thing is, like, okay, Winsome Sears was the lieutenant governor for, gosh, what was his name? I always forget, freaking tall-ass guy. Glenn Youngkin. There you go. Glenn Youngkin's lieutenant governor. Very old school, Southern conservative woman, very old-fashioned, very old school. The debate, I thought, I honestly, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't see what was there for Winsome Sears that was so damning. Everyone was predicting that Winsome Sears, and I heard people even say, like, she had a terrible performance. It was like, I didn't see a terrible performance. I saw attempts to hold Abigail Spanberger's feet to the fire and her refusing to ever answer the questions. Like how she cared about black people when she didn't want to allow school choice, and how she didn't like all of the things that would help the black community were not things she wanted to address and not things she wanted to approve. Yet she's better than the black woman for the black community. And just like, and once again, same thing with Tennessee. So you want black representation to go up, yet now there's a black woman who's going to be taking the seat of a white man. And that's not more representation because of the wrong party. It has nothing to do with racism. It has to do with party politics and the Democrats convincing the entire nation that, yeah, Democrat means we are the ones who care about black people. Republicans are just trying to take rights away from black people. No. As a matter of fact, some of the most well-spoken, most articulate, and most iconic members of the Republican Party right now are black people in the legislative branch. Byron Donalds, Tim Scott. There's people. I just don't. It leaves me speechless every time I see this sort of thing, because they have managed to do this while at the same time, if you go back and look at, I'm sorry, I'm going to play it. You're gonna have to hear the naughty word, but this is Obama. Not Obama. This is goddamn Joe Biden. This is Joe Biden back from his days in the Senate, and you know, what was he? Well, he was concerned about his children being raised in quote unquote racial jungles, but what was a concern about states with elected black people in them? Something like this.
We already have a nigger mayor, and we don't need any more.
Okay, interesting. All right, so that's Joe Biden, Mr. Inclusivity, Mr. Racial Tolerance, and Mr. I don't know. Maybe it was Corn Pop that was running for office, and he was trying to make sure that everybody knew Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran with a bunch of bad boys, and I don't know. That was back when he still had his brain functioning, and so I doubt he could give you an answer now, and nobody bothered to ask him before. I know that's in reference to somebody else that is being talked about in connection to some sort of scandal in a state. But at the same time, if you were a Democrat now, you could not say that out loud under any circumstance whatsoever, anywhere that was televised, period. If you did, your career would be over. Even if you're black, you probably couldn't say. Which is why the debate around words, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say it now, but I'm going to say it when I feel it's appropriate to say it. I'm not going to self-censor because I think it's politically incorrect, and that's the only reason why. Like, if I'm quoting someone who says the word, I don't need to. I got Joe Biden right here. But I mean, if I'm going to quote somebody and I need to make sure that people understand the quote, I'm going to say the quote. I'm not going to use N-word in place of the word that I'm reading verbatim on a script. I'm not going to do it. But the problem is that nobody actually is concerned about the word being said being actually racist. People are looking for, and this kind of leads me into the next segment because this is where we'll bleed into the other topic for today. Nobody's interested at all in the substance of the debate, or the substance of the discussion, or the substance of the supposedly morally imperative discussion that is being had here because of context or because of something that is very important to understand. They're worried about the snippet that gets caught that they can isolate and make into an example where someone's entire career or entire personality or their entire body of work can be represented in this one soundbite that they've been able to create. That's why Brian Shapiro does this all the time, where he says, "No, I want you to say right now that you think that," it's like, and he'll word it a very specific way and ask for a yes or no answer. And it's the same reason why, like, because Democrats have them get this game played on them all the time too, and they once again will refuse to do it in any way except for to request the same answer to the same question over and over again, and they won't accept it under any other wording. It has to be the wording that is exactly the type that they define to be important. Nothing else. That's it. And it's weird, but it makes sense when you think about it, because once again, when it comes to social media, when it comes to X, when it comes to Facebook, when it comes to YouTube Shorts, when it comes to anything, if we can just present the point that we need with evidence that is hardly substantial, but it's emotionally manipulative enough to get people to believe us, then we'll do it that way. That's fine. That's sufficient, as long as we get that attention. Enter Mehdi Hassan. It's a great transition, isn't it? It's a very interesting debate between Mehdi Hassan and Michael Knowles. And this isn't at all a highlight of everything in the debate, but it is a highlight of, first of all, there's leftists all over the place shouting how Mehdi won that one. Oh, Mehdi won. Mehdi. Even in the chat, they're freaking dumb as hell. The only saving grace was luckily there was well, the comment section was not filled with anything like that. As a matter of fact, the comment section was more upset because there was this guy for about the first probably, well, it wasn't just one guy, as a matter of fact. There was probably like 4 or 5 people that for the first third of the debate, at least, was just coughing constantly, and it sounded like he was purposely coughing into the microphone. Like instead of trying to cover up his mouth and trying to cough off to the side, he's just going right up to the mic on the camera and coughing directly into it, and it just kept going over and over. And whoever was around there must have caught it, and they were all doing the same thing. It was weird, but so all the comments were about the cough was too annoying to really come up with a winner. And I put something on there saying, and people actually liked the fact that I was pointing out. I can't tell either, but I'm more impressed to see that that this is a pretty bipartisan comment section, and everyone agrees that the coughing was the loser in this debate. So, it was in good fun. But the point is that Mehdi certainly was trying his damnedest to really, really spotlight Michael Knowles as being this horrible, mostly when it came to Michael Knowles and Christian apologist, Zionist, and all this other stupid horse shit that people like Mehdi, who work for Al Jazeera, people of that ilk, will do. But Muslim apologists, radical terrorist apologists, the kind that will flip their shit and go crazy because you suggest that they might have a beeper bomb on them, even though at the same time you'll suggest that Palestine is just a genocide against the Palestinian people. Gaza was a genocide. Yeah, it was a genocide, all right. Yeah, that's why the Palestinians were represented by a group that surely, I mean, look at how stalwart Hamas was for sticking up for Palestinian rights, so much so that they used them for suicide bombers and indoctrinated them from the time they were children, and used all the humanitarian money and aid for terror tunnels and getting around all over the city so they could launch rockets from hospitals and schools and mosques and everywhere around the city except for places that might be military areas, because they don't have military areas. They're a bunch of terrorist scumbags. But Mehdi is a very, very let's put it this way: Mehdi's sympathies only go one way, and he doesn't. That's why he doesn't communicate like a normal human being. He communicates like a walking, talking stereotype of everything you would expect from Islamic apologists, leftists that is trying to enact the very agenda that the Islamic terrorists are espousing, like the useful idiocy of the left, who continues to shout about LGBTQ rights and free Palestine in the same freaking sentence. So, but this is more about the debate tactics here. So let's just let's take a quick look at this, because that'll bring me to kind of the final part of the discussion I wanted to go over, because oh my God, this is really well, this is really. Oh, before I do that, is this the? Hold on. I guess I lost that one. But I was going to show us a video that was kind of a follow-up to something, but I guess it's not that important. I just thought it was still here, but I guess not. Anyway. Oh yeah, never mind. This one was something else. Well, anyway, let's just put it this way. I've been thinking a lot about this because I've been watching, Tommy Robinson. In case you're unfamiliar, Tommy Robinson, he's a citizen of the United Kingdom and someone who has been trying to draw attention to the rape gangs and Pakistani immigrants that have been like widespread engaging in the grooming and then eventual sexual abuse and sex trafficking of minors in Britain, and yet it's leaders like that good-for-nothing, useless politician, an empty suit, Keir Starmer. They've been constantly doing nothing but condemning anyone who states this sort of thing about what's going on in the UK as bigotry and of course prejudice of Islamophobia, prejudice of Islam, Islamophobic behavior. Meanwhile, if you've seen the videos, you know that people in Britain, I've talked about this before, 5 in the morning are waking up to the blaring sounds of over the loudspeakers with their Islamic temple music while they're praying, and have to listen to it because they have it on loudspeaker everywhere in this whole town. And Chip Roy is trying to make sure it doesn't happen to Texas. And, well, Betty calls that prejudice. Everybody calls that prejudice. That's evil. That's, no, that's making sure that the idea of Sharia law coming to the United States should never, ever, ever be tolerated. And, if you want Sharia law, you can stay in your home country. You don't have to come here. You can keep it. But if you come here with the intent to spread Islamic political policy that is disguised as religious belief, sorry, no, can't do that. It's not happening. And Chip Roy, that's why he's running for, what is it, Attorney General? Yeah, Attorney General of Texas. So, because that has been, there are mosques popping up everywhere in Texas. Texas is one of the states that during the last administration, during the mass import of everybody, was a state that got settled by, and you notice this is another thing Tommy talks about. As a matter of fact, I want to make sure that video is here too, because I don't know if I actually, oh, I did, yeah, I got it here. So. It's only about a minute long, but it's, and I'm going to follow up this video with that one, because this is, it's a short clip, and then probably next time we'll go into a little bit deeper on this, because there's another really long clip. I don't think we'll have time to play it today, because I'm taking a lot longer with the first subject than I thought. Yeah, maybe, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, it's a clip of Musab Hassan Youssef giving a serious, it should have been a warning that was heeded, because this was quite a while ago. It's something that people just missed, though, and if it was heeded, if the message had been heeded more in Canada, which is where it was addressed, they might be dealing with, because Britain is already on the verge of basically falling to the same sort of forces that are raping their children at this point. Canada is next on the menu, which at this point it almost seems like Canada be a cakewalk, because they're almost begging to be invaded by an opposing force that is completely contrary to all of their beliefs. You think the country that tries to promote basically like enforced pronoun use is going to be compatible with Sharia? Like, I don't think it's going to be a good fit, but I think I know who'd win in a battle of rhetoric and of cunning and Unfortunately, it's not because there aren't smart people in Canada. It's because they already have basically, you know, basically disowned and disenfranchised and pushed aside and silenced anyone in Canada that's got a decent head on their shoulders and any kind of moral compass whatsoever. They're already they've already been what do you call it exiled from the greater population at large. So yeah, they don't have too many. Don't really have any chances left. I mean, after Pierre Poilievre became the biggest disappointment I've ever seen that came out of Canada, because the guy should have been a shoo-in and just walked into the Prime Minister's office. Instead, they voted after Justin Trudeau. They voted for more liberal frickin' government. And they couldn't stand the idea. And why? Well, because Canada has done a pretty good job at successfully making out Donald Trump to be the threat yet again. Unbelievably. They've managed to make it seem like Donald Trump would give so much a shit about Canada, which, you know, I will say, playing your cards in early on, saying that you want Canada to be the 51st state may not have been the best idea when it comes to Canada trying to get Canadians in your corner. However, it did at the same time kind of expose that Canada is basically a lost cause. I hate to say it, but that country has, I mean, when you look at the shape it's in, I mean, I don't blame, what is it, Ontario? Is it Ontario that's a state that is so desperately trying to get out of the freaking Canadian Union? And they probably would jump at the chance to be the 51st state, as a matter of fact. But yeah, it's like this attempt to condemn everyone. There's been these weird freaking attempts to self-flagellate and just, you know, continually beat the shit out of yourself if you're white, and beat the shit out of white people if you're not. For these schools for Native Canadians that were, you know, the First Nations concept that they tried to glorify all the time because they were. It's like Native Americans to America, where we have to accept that the great sin was twofold. It was slavery and genocide of Native Americans, but which, by the way, once again, the atrocities. I was going to recommend a book, by the way, and before I go on, I don't want to forget this. I want to make sure I actually get this out. I'm sorry to throw this in here right now, but I believe it's called Blood Meridian. It's by the guy who wrote No Country for Old Men, same author. But this is a script. If it was made into a movie, I don't know how they would actually go about. Well, let's say go about making this into a film that would not be extremely difficult to film within the constraints of making it fall under the proper guidelines for film at this point. Like, actually put it in front of a mainstream audience of any kind, because not only is it something that's culturally and historically relevant and accurate, but it portrays the brutality on both sides of the conflict between United States settlers and the Native Americans who were already here. And people don't really remember that all the time because, you know, scalping, I just hearing about again today, which I always always cringe at the thought of, because, you know, we think of scalping as just like taking a trophy. No, in that time, you know, that was done while people were still alive. Women, children were still alive and scalped. It's barbarism at possibly one of the most disgusting levels you could ever imagine. And that's what they would do all the time, to whole settlements of people. I'm not going to condemn Native Americans as a group for that. Those were tribes that were barbaric and evil and deserved to be wiped out. If they were. If they weren't, they skirted justice, but won't forever. But the point is that the idea of the you know, pre-existent hippies that were just here and that just frolicked around in nature all the time, and if it wasn't for the evil white man with his guns, they would have, existed. No, they were constantly at war with each other when they weren't fighting us, and once again, one of the main reasons they were defeated wasn't because we were constantly slaughtering them. It was because we brought diseases that they were, their immune systems were not accustomed to, and probably more died to famine. And once again, they didn't have modern medicine. They didn't believe in modern medicine. They didn't believe in the concept of, they didn't see things through the same lens as people who were from Europe and English-speaking countries that were, had been advancing medical technology for a very long time at that point. They believed far more old-fashioned ideas and weren't nearly as technologically advanced. But I wouldn't knock them at all for any of these things if it was in any way representative by the idea that these were just peace-loving, kind-hearted individuals. That's not what this was. This was, this was a constant back and forth battle for land that people, there was no like discussion over terms before things started going bad for the American colonizers. That's such a bad word. Colonists, I'll say that. This wasn't like something that was discussed and then they would go to war. No, this was just they launched an attack against a group of people because this was their land and they didn't mark it, and nobody knew it, but they knew it, and so they're going to enforce it. And before there was any chance to come to any terms, they managed to slaughter the men and women and children of an entire village of people. And of course, at that point, it's a little difficult to get people on the train of let's negotiate with these people. So, that's not to say it's right, but once again, there's other things at play here: disease, and then you have people on our side who take no prisoners about it. We need to punish them, but it's hardly cut and dry. Everything's always treated as so simplistic by people who don't know history or won't accept the reality that you can't pin all the world's problems on Whitey. And unfortunately, the result is that even today, as the government still does so much to help Native American reservations and things like that, the reality is in those reservations, spousal abuse is running rampant, alcoholism runs rampant, drug dealing and use is out of control. Because they've been treated more like sovereign territories that exist within the United States, and tribal police are the ones that are supposed to be acting as law enforcement in these areas, yet they usually they always come from the population and maybe far more sympathetic to the people there, which is kind of the point. But if you're really sympathetic to someone who's doing something really damaging like that, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and do the hard thing that is going to be, in the long run, the better idea. And too many people just refuse to do that. So, but I'm way off topic now because I was trying to discuss this in terms of, the point was that Islam has set its sights on, they don't just have their eyes on Israel as many on the left seem to want to make people believe. As a matter of fact, they've seriously improved their chances in significant ways of converting the entire United Kingdom. And unless they elect a really strong leader who's going to do something about this, which it seems like they are, seems like they're trying to. It might be too late, but hopefully it's not. There's some people over there that are dead serious now about this country needing some serious freaking reforms to it and some serious enforcement of our laws. And we can't just be welcoming in anybody who says they're afraid for their lives, and then they get here and everybody in a town that is being being targeted for by these people knows that that these people are operating without any kind of hindrance whatsoever to sexualize the 13, 14-year-old girls in the area. They have leverage, and they will murder the family and murder the girls if they resist. It's like this is an out of control problem. Meanwhile, they're arresting their own citizens for praying outside of abortion clinics and calling somebody who, and this is a real case, a guy who beat this woman and she woke up in the hospital and called him a faggot, got arrested by the cops for sending in a text message, private text message, the word faggot. So yeah, this country has lost its mind, and it in no way, yeah, it's sad that a lot of English common law, which we use today, that has been adopted by the United States, which still, in most part, is still managing to hang on to its traditions. But in no way are these good things. In no way are these good things that they're talking about wanting to have happen. Sharia and mosques all over the country and allowing Islamic individuals into the country who practice their faith, which, by the way, includes child brides of 9 years old. Yeah, no, I don't want that in my country, especially in the one which, by the way, everybody just a while ago was bitching and moaning about Epstein, and now you want to let in people from a country that make Epstein. I said that people laughed when I said this too. I said this about the border and the human traffickers there, and I said this about Islamic extremists that are successful at sex trafficking and child marriage and some really sick shit. I said that made Epstein look like a novice. Leftists thought that was so stupid. That was so ridiculous. That was so gullible. And so, like, really, tell me, what do you know of any of these things, asshole? I'd love to know. You know anything about it, or you just know what you heard in CNN, NBC, BS Now? Did they tell you about this? Because I dare you, do some real research into this subject. Actually do some real looking into. Not from hacks that bend over backward and suck fucking Mehdi Hassan's dick. No, I mean actually people who are serious about the subject. Do it. And then tell me how it's not even comparable to Epstein, let alone potentially could dwarf it. Was Epstein practicing female genital mutilation without the consent of the child, parents, or anybody involved? No, I don't remember that part. Not that part at scale, not that part on individual level. I don't remember that. I remember some sick fucks, but all of the atrocities of the Islamic world, I don't remember all of that. And as Mossab Hassan Youssef says, there is a way for people like the United Arab Emirates and places that are Arab in culture and Arab in their national ethnic heritage that they believe in, and believe in a more moderate form of the religion, and don't let it become a force that guides all their policy decisions. Like, there can be peace between those countries and the United States and Israel and all the countries in the area. The Abraham Accords still are one incredible accomplishment, and there could be more countries in the region that would be more than accepted, not more than accepted, like immediately accepted as an additional signatory to the Abraham Accords. I'm sure if they wanted to. And that should be encouraged, but make no mistake about it. That means that that concept of global intifada and treating the idea of spreading Islam to a worldwide group, well, that means that's off the table. That has to be off the table. You're not going to go around enforcing the concept of Islam being required to be the religion of a population and the United States, at least, of supporting that. No, that's not going to happen. So, but with all that in mind, let's move on to this debate, because this is twofold. This is to sort of highlight the holes in the thinking of someone like this, and to spotlight some of the more dirty, underhanded debate tactics of people on the left who really have, they're not out to win over anyone's opinion on the merits. They're out to ruin someone's character enough so that morally you're so repulsed by them you don't believe them by default, even though the whole argument is coming from somebody who's opposed to them to begin with. You shouldn't trust that that's the reality, and yet people just don't get it. And there's so many reasons why, but let's get in. I've talked enough. Let's get into the video clip, because this is just a great example. I thought when I first saw this, it's like, this is like so many of the dirty tactics I see from leftists in debate. This is one of the most perfect examples of all of them. All of them all appearing in one spot at the same time. So yeah, let's get into this. That's right. So we're starting off with how Mehdi thinks that Donald Trump has violated the First Amendment and violated people's First Amendment rights, which of course you're going to notice all flow in one direction. But yeah, so let's go here. All right, Mehdi, you scumbag, go ahead.
Arrested Don Lemon. Donald Trump has arrested Don Lemon.
He's raided the home of a Washington Post reporter. He has blocked the AP from the Oval Office. He tried to defund NPR and PBS. A judge shot it down. He's tried to ban flag burning, which goes against Supreme Court case Texas versus Johnson from 1989. He's tried to get a late-night comedian fired because he didn't like his jokes. He has just go down the list when it comes to the free press. They tried to restrict reporters reporting at the Pentagon. A judge shot that down too, saying you're not supposed to prescribe the press. He has threatened the New York Times. Just the other day, he said they should be guilty of sedition because they reported on his Iran war in a way he did not like. He has engaged in multiple lawsuits to try to intimidate and suppress the press. His defense secretary bragged loudly that CNN will be coming under new pro-Trump ownership. Just go down the list. Students. We talk about universities. We've seen students arrested for their speech, not for violence.
Yeah,
for
students.
Their speech. A Reagan-appointed judge said the arrest of
immigrants on visas
was a full-throated assault on the First Amendment. A Reagan-appointed judge, William Young, said that, not some liberal Marxist. And as for, threatening people's speech, just the other day, just a few months ago, Donald Trump threatened 6 members of Congress with death for their speech. He said, seditious behavior, punishable by death. What did they do? They did a video saying, hey, military, don't follow illegal orders. He said...
I have to dispel that bullshit. Let me just make sure everybody knows what he's referencing here, and no, that's not what he said. This was about the Seditious Six, the group of people that decided it would be a great idea to film a commercial describing that if you are in the military and you think that order from the president is against the legal military code of conduct or against the law, then you don't have to do that action. Just say no. And of course, the military, they all know this. They're well aware of this. The chain of command is well aware of this. Nobody pledged their allegiance to Donald Trump. They pledged it to the United States and to the Constitution and to the Commander-in-Chief. Yes, who is Donald Trump. However, I think they're well aware of their legal right to protest illegal orders, and what was done by those people was plant the seed in their head by way of elected officials attempting to instruct members of the military that what they were being told could be illegal, by putting the idea into their heads that it could be illegal and making them question an action, which, by the way, in the midst of a battle can get you killed. If you are going to sit in there and go, wait, let me pull out my Constitution and see if this is actually legal or not. They don't have time for that, Mehdi. And the other problem is that he didn't say they should be killed. He said what they did was an act of sedition. The punishment used to be death for people who committed this crime. That was all he said. He said a crime that used to be punishable by death. That's what he said. He didn't say he was going to kill, or he didn't say anybody was going to kill or should kill or anything like that. He said the punishment used to be death, noting the severity of what they were doing. Not that they should be dead. He's talking about how severe it is for a group of elected officials to try to insinuate that the president is giving illegal orders to the military. That's fucking dangerous. You fucking dumbass. No, I mean, he knows exactly what he's doing. Look at this guy. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's manipulated and twisted every single thing he just talked about. Don Lemon was arrested for his speech. Michael's going to address that in a second, but no, of course he wasn't. That wasn't what Don Lemon was arrested for, or what he was being charged with. It has nothing to do with that. There's a direct charge that he was arrested for. And by the way, didn't notice this sort of, outrage or anger at people who, once again, never any protest whatsoever when people are like, I don't know if I want to get the COVID shot. You're going to get people killed. You know what? If you're related to this guy, don't let him anywhere near you. Don't let him in your homes. Don't even come close to him. Don't talk to him. This sick son of a bitch wants families to make sure that they chastise people and kick them out because they weren't vaccinated. They weren't wearing a mask. It's disgusting. It's sorry. It's just once again, the double standards are always just amazing to behold.
You should be killed for that. This is the most anti-free speech, anti-free press, anti-viewpoint diversity administration in American history. It's led by a complete snowflake who can't tolerate any criticism from anyone, can't tolerate jokes from late-night comedians. Think about the countries where comedians are taken off the airwaves because the leader didn't like their jokes. No one was taken off the airwaves. Are those constitutional democracies? Are those constitutional republics?
No one's guaranteed a late-night show, asswipe.
Think about that when you vote tonight. Think about the kind of place where the president threatens students, threatens media organizations, threatens comedians, and threatens members of the other party while arresting journalists. The whole thing is absurd to suggest he's not anti-First Amendment president. It's actually at the core of my argument for why he's not upholding the Constitution, because he's not upholding the First Amendment.
No, you're full of shit.
I think it's very telling that my opponent objects to the arrest of Don Lemon, which was not, in fact, for free speech, but was because Don Lemon violated federal law and bragged about it on camera. Excuse me. And violated federal law.
Now watch. Here we go. Here's where things go.
But if you'll allow me to finish, I'm trying to engage in my free speech, and there seems to be a heckler's veto.
My free speech too.
No, it's not. It's actually your time to be quiet. Shut the fuck up.
He walked in with an unruly mob to disrupt a religious proceeding. This terrorized children. He did all sorts of terrible things, targeted Christians. No surprise that would be given a pass from the man who denied the genocide of Christians in Nigeria tonight, noticing a touch of a trend.
The people who attacked the Capitol were not going on private tours. They were not just a horn hack.
Oh boy, here we go.
Daniel Rodriguez, who assaulted Michael Fanone, put him in a stroke, got 12 years in prison. The judge said he was an army of hate and violence. Donald Trump pardoned him. It was people like Andrew Paul Johnson, who was just sentenced to life in prison for sexually abusing 2 children in Florida. Donald Trump pardoned him for January the 6th. He pardoned a neo-Nazi called Bradley Tyler Dykes, who did a Sieg Heil salute as he attacked police officers.
Oh no, not a Sieg Heil salute.
Trump for that. Harry Sisson asked Michael on his show earlier this year, would you condemn Donald Trump for doing that? And he wouldn't answer the question. He said, I'll never condemn Donald Trump. Do you condemn Donald Trump for pardoning neo-Nazis, domestic abusers, pedophiles?
Well, hold on. Was he one
do you condemn Trump for pardoning?
Here we go. Here we go.
Question about that guy. Was he one of the neo-Nazis who was getting $3 million from the SPLC?
Michael is going to play with this a little bit, but this is exactly, we're moving into territory, exactly what I described. There's not an answer that's going to be sufficient. Now, the left does this all the fucking time. They want to take a question, but unlike what Michael does in this scenario, where he gives an overarching example with more clarification, which is to clarify because he knows people like Mehdi would take a clip where he just gave a yes or no answer without context. It would be bad and that's the point of doing it. If you give somebody a binary answer of yes or no without allowing them the ability to expand on the answer, it's a bad faith question in the first place. It shouldn't even be answered. And as a matter of fact, I think whenever things like that happen, you should just by default refuse to answer the question, because they don't want an answer to the question. They want a sound clip that they can use to highlight you as whatever it is they're going to, because it's either A, you are going to say yes, in which you're a disgusting bigot and you deserve to be charged with the same things that Trump is guilty of, who's guilty of just about everything at this point, or B, you don't, and in which case you don't really support the president. Neither of which may be the case, of course. There's some nuance here, but, because when we get questions like, let's see, let me think of a good one. No, that one doesn't quite work. I'm trying to think of a good one that's used and always avoided by Democrats when they're asked this question. Because they do the same thing. And it's not like in these cases, because they'll allow them to go on and then they'll say their entire piece and they won't say anything about it as an answer to the question. Whereas when conservatives get asked, they'll answer the question but with context. Like I said, it's a totally different method of answering the question. This is a good one. It's like, okay, so someone is on the left and they're asked, why is all the focus on Donald Trump in the Epstein files and not on Bill Gates or Bill Clinton, who we actually have much more solid evidence of that they were actually on Epstein's plane multiple times, that were at the island multiple times, and we have no such evidence like that for Trump, and we have no such evidence that Trump did anything against the law. In fact, we have evidence that he worked with the FBI on the case against Epstein. So why no? Do you have the same standard for law enforcement on Bill Clinton or Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, that you'd have against Donald Trump? They without fail will say this. But look, I'm not standing up for the Democrat Party is not super pro Bill Clinton or anything. Let's just get that straight. But let's not kid ourselves. Donald Trump is mentioned. That's exactly what they'll do every fucking time. I swear, I've seen this so many times now. It's like clockwork. That's what they'll do. They'll say, "Well, we don't really support Bill Clinton. I think you're thinking of a different Democrat, but let's not pretend like what Donald Trump did and what Bill Clinton did were at all." Yeah, you're right. Let's not pretend. Let's not pretend and forget that ridiculous, stupid letter that supposedly was Trump talking about the beautiful secret, like that's something Donald Trump would ever fucking say. Let's talk about how we fell for the idea that Donald Trump was some sort of mastermind who was working with Epstein for trafficking all these women when he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago and was the only person who didn't require subpoena to testify against him to the FBI. Meanwhile, what's his name? Michael Cohen was before the House Judiciary Committee, and Stacey Plaskett herself is messaging Jeffrey Epstein with dirt on Trump, trying to figure out more dirt on Trump to Cohen. She needs his help for getting some questions. Give me those questions. And what's the excuse? Well, we only have them from someone like Jasmine Crockett. I didn't ask Stacey why she thought it was okay to message it, but look, she was a constituent. he was her constituent, so it's fine to talk to Jeffrey Epstein if you are the one who is the representative from his district. When it has nothing to do with him and it has to do with Trump and Michael Cohen and nothing about Jeffrey Epstein at all anyway, but Jeffrey Epstein has dirt on Trump because they were friends at one point. So yeah, let's do that. Yeah. No, you're fucking stupid, and that's a ridiculous standard. Which, by the way, no one cares about Stacey Plaskett. How did she get Jeffrey Epstein's number? Why are they so chummy? Why are they talking to each other about all this stuff? I thought you did a great job. Really? Oh yeah, okay. But the beautiful secret thing, that's totally believable. Not the actual things that happened with Stacey Plaskett and Jeffrey Epstein on the fucking phone. So this, it's a standard that, once again, they'll never meet themselves. They'll always demand to their opponents so they can get their soundbite. Anybody who's concerned about Epstein, once again, no concern over things like that. Concerned about a letter that's obvious bullshit and the fact that his name appears so many times. Not next to anything criminal, mind you, just that his name is there. When he was out there pissed as hell at the guy, trying to get him busted with every group under the sun, except for one crime, strangely enough. One crime that wasn't suggested by Jeffrey Epstein, of all people. Oh, yeah, that's right. Anything to have to do with underage prostitution or anything like that. That's right. I wonder why. I wonder why that one's missing. Well, we can always speculate, right? I mean, it's not like he would know. Oh, that's right. He would know. Okay. And why exactly was the painting? Who was it of in his house? Was it... Oh, no, that was of Bill Clinton, too. Imagine that. Of the Monica Lewinsky dress, the blue dress with the little stain that George Carlin even did a joke about. My God. The sickening way that this party is so fucking hypocritical about everything, and yet will rile people up over causes that are legitimately worthy of investigation, yet poison the well from the start with a bunch of partisan bullshit that is not there for justice of any kind. Is there for freaking to condemn Trump, like everything else they do. So, go ahead. Let's hear Mehdi. Come on.
Or was he a different neo?
He's diverting.
Do you? I'm not Harry Sisson. I'll use up my time. Do you condemn Donald Trump for pardoning neo-Nazi violent criminals?
People who assaulted 140 police officers on January the 2nd.
One last real clarification.
He won't answer.
One last real clarification.
I'll ask again. Do you? No, it's a simple question.
Oh,
Do you
he wants
support
clarification.
pardoning the 600 people who were charged with assaulting police
did he
officers,
pardon them for
like Daniel
pedophilia?
Rodriguez?
Okay,
He pardoned them for assaulting police.
Oh,
do you support that?
Assaulting police. No, that's not what they're charged
He has
with.
an
I
answer.
oppose assaulting police.
Do you
Nazism and
condemn
pedophilia.
Donald Trump for pardoning 600 people who assaulted police officers? Fourth time.
Listen to the
I'm
moderator.
happy to. I condemn pedophilia,
Do you condemn
neo-Nazism.
Donald Trump for pardoning January 6th riots? He won't do it.
Yeah, because you're full of shit.
We have a debate format. We're going to stick to the debate format. We're not going to...
He thinks he won that. He's so convinced of his own freaking superiority. He thinks that he came away from that with the upper hand. And to anyone on the left, he probably did. Unfortunately, anybody out there with a fucking brain would know that this was entirely ridiculous. This was poisoning the well from the start. This was meant as a tactic to paint someone in a bad light and nothing else. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. And Michael's right for not answering any question based on that, because he's charging people with things that I've not heard any proof to substantiate that as a reality. As a matter of fact, I remember the guy he calls Horn Guy, which would be, what's his name? Joseph, I knew his name for sure. Justin, I can't believe I'm having a brain fart right now. Yeah, the guy that was QAnon shaman, the retarded name he got given by the media. Anyway, the guy was there, and he was talking all day about how we have to remain peaceful. We have to remain peaceful. He gave a prayer thanking the Capitol Police. He never was accused of anything freaking violent. He was never accused of anything that was in any way, shape, or form, a threat to the officers there. He never went anywhere he wasn't supposed to go. He only went in places where he was able to go, being escorted, by the way, by a couple of Capitol Police officers. And this whole thing about people attacking cops is like, okay, cops have the guns, right? I mean, they could have always threatened, something like that if they needed to, which, even though I'm sure they didn't want to, and I'm sure that would have escalated things, once again, it's like they treat the Capitol Police like they're this helpless, poor force of people that have no training or no ability to defend themselves whatsoever, and that they all ended up, it's like nobody ended up dying as a result. No officer. There were people who died, and unfortunately, there are people who Capitol Police, the people who were there that were absolutely reckless and shouldn't have had the job in the first place. That's who was killed, were people that were shot by Capitol Police, like Ashley Babbitt, who I talked about. And the biggest fuck you to her and her memory was the fact that her mom, who was protesting her arrest or her death, was arrested by Capitol Police while she was protesting the imprisonment of January 6th defendants. She's there once again, Medi, free speech, out there exercising it, and she was arrested and put in jail. And I don't know, she wasn't like convicted of any kind of serious crime, but you're gonna do that to the mother of a girl, former military girl that was there on. Not a girl, former military woman, and they're at the Capitol same day as a bunch of other people, and Officer Byrd, I remember that part of my at least, just so happened to decide that after X amount of people came in through this window, this girl came in. She needs to be shot. Shot her through the neck. Did nothing to, try to resuscitate her. Did nothing to try to save her life. Nope. Just shot her, left her for dead. And next person that crawled through the window, I mean, people there were obviously, from what I've seen of the footage, reacting immediately. But Officer Byrd wasn't, because for whatever reason, it was he thought that was a good idea. But no, it's all the Trump loyalists who were convinced by him, who, by the way, I think was still giving his speech. I don't know if that was during the Ashley Babbitt shooting or not, but most certainly the Capitol perimeter was breached before Donald Trump's speech was done. So yeah, the whole thing's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's pointless. It was not as a result of Donald Trump's rhetoric that they did anything to the Capitol building. This talking point is so bullshit, and yet, once again, he let this person out of prison who was guilty of sexually abusing a child. Oh, okay, was that what he was arrested for? No, he was arrested for some stupid charge in the Capitol, and I'm sorry, Trump can't predict the future and discover that this guy's going to go on to do something terrible. But, you guys will, basically forgive crimes, and you'll forgive them again and 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 again, up to 30 times before you finally arrest someone when they finally murder somebody. And you want to take the high ground? Go to hell. It's sick.
Mehdi doesn't want to stick to the debate.
You don't want to answer the question.
You don't want to answer the question, my friend.
I'm happy to answer on the substance if you'd like.
If you would like to, you have 1 minute to respond. However you
So obviously, Mehdi's been very, very dishonest. President Trump didn't pardon anybody for pedophilia or Nazism or whatever nonsense. If you'll allow me to finish.
He does this the entire
what he pardoned
time.
them for is because there was a massive prosecution of thousands of people on January 6th that was politically motivated, that was disproportionate because the federal government had let all of the leftist rioters who, unlike the January 6thers, killed dozens of people and it resulted in over $1 billion worth of property damage, let them off the hook and in fact raised money to bail them out of jail. And so because of the unjust prosecutions where you had Midwestern grannies who were not pedophiles or Nazis, but who were eccentric ladies who walked around
excuse me, who walked around the Capitol despite all of the lies suggesting that police officers were killed. If that was not true, the coroners proved that. So he recognized that there was disproportionate prosecution. The same goes for the pro-life grannies who were arrested by Joe Biden, who were imprisoned for praying in abortion clinics. President Trump pardoned them. Now, on the pardon power, look, there are lots of bad pardons that go on. Joe Biden took it to an egregious degree.
Yes,
but the pardon power is absolute. And if we're here to defend the Constitution, we would have to defend the plain words of Article 2, which say the president has the pardon power.
Michael earlier very shamefully
there we go.
tried to insinuate I'm anti-Christian because I don't accept there's a Christian genocide in Nigeria. And yet he supports a man who literally portrayed himself as Jesus, blasphemously, sacrilegiously. A man who attacks the Pope. Michael, are you Catholic?
I am.
Yeah, a man who attacks the Pope. I've never attacked the Pope like Donald Trump.
Okay. Before we go on to this, I just have to at least say this. Anything coming out of this man's mouth, trying to pretend that he in any way has a degree whatsoever of consideration, sympathy, or care or concern for anyone of the Christian faith, do not believe a word he says. This guy is he's all but in title an absolutely radical, terrorist-supporting Islamic extremist cheerleader who's been on every single show sympathetic to Middle Eastern Islamic terrorists, giving whatever words of support he can, which usually is just referencing quotes from the Quran about smiting your enemies and all this other bullshit. Like, this guy has no concern for the Christian, because they're infidels. They're infidels to the, make no mistake, as much as people are very, very selective about the outrage to Jews and the state of Israel, once again, if that's the hang-up, fine. What about UK Christians? What about UK Christians? Because they're the ones who are falling under the victimization of their daughters getting groomed and then sex trafficked by these Pakistani Muslim rape gangs that Keir Starmer seems intent on making sure are never discussed, never brought up, never talked about. And if it's happening, well, then we need to make sure that we keep it in the dark. We don't want to talk about that. We can't allow it. But it's sick. It's disgusting. Once again, this guy's got nothing but he has no sympathy whatsoever for Christians. He's got no sympathy whatsoever for any group on earth if they're not Islamic. He's just as hardcore. He's just a mouthpiece instead of being a enforcer. That's it. So he's like the Joseph Goebbels of the Islamic Caliph, or at least of the Islamic world itself. This is the propagandist. Which I will say, the way he presents his arguments, it is the way a propagandist would talk, without a doubt. He's very, very fast and very accustomed to gish galloping constantly, straw manning constantly, poisoning the well all the time. Like, he has no dirty debate tactic he won't use. He wrote a book on win every debate, and it's with tactics. I'm sure with tactics like this. Don't even worry about the substance of the argument. Just throw a bunch of things in your opponent's face that you think they won't be able to answer, because it would be a negative on either whatever answer they give, and don't give them any other choice, and you'll win. It's such nonsense. But hey, it's effective, I guess, if you're somebody who sympathizes with Islam and the sorts of things that the sort of IRGC or Houthis or Hezbollah or Hamas or ISIS or any of these groups would do, and I guess that's fine.
But such is partisanship, a hell of a drug, as they say, that he won't criticize Donald Trump ever for attacking the Pope, but he'll attack me for supposedly being anti-Christian.
Trump literally portrayed himself as Jesus, then pretended, said,
I
thought I was being a doctor.
I'm sorry. Just one more thing. Christianity doesn't have a tenet involved that says you portray Jesus and you get the death penalty. So there's that. So Trump portraying himself as Jesus or as the Pope, yeah, maybe distasteful, but sorry, Maddie, we're not from your world. We don't give people, the death penalty for portrayal of the prophet. It's a little different. It's a little different here. Now, I know it's a struggle, but well, personally, I couldn't care less if you get used to it or not. Actually, I would prefer, the sooner you got the message, the sooner you would figure out that we would rather not listen to your stupid ass. But if you're going to insist on it, just please, at least respect our historical customs, like not murdering people for cartoons or portrayals or, a costume they might wear or something like that. When the religion and the areas and countries of the world that you support most certainly have those laws in place and have most certainly made sure that they punished people accordingly for breaking and violating those absolutely crucial tenets of Islam. Yeah. So keep talking, asshole. Keep talking like Trump is this horrible extremist. We're totally fine as long as you're killing someone for drawing a picture of Muhammad, but we're gonna say Trump is guilty of something for dressing up like the Pope or showing a picture of himself looking like the Pope. That's just beyond the pale. Fuck you.
Biggest liar in the world, attacked the Pope, lied about the Pope. You know what he said on Monday? He said the Pope says he wants Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I wonder, will Michael condemn Trump for lying about the Pope? The Pope has never said Iran wants to have a nuclear weapon. Donald Trump lied on Monday. You can see if Michael will answer that question tonight. I suspect he won't. Cult, he can't criticize the dear leader. So it's a real problem that we have a president who's attacking Christianity because he sees himself as Lord God. He once said, he once retweeted someone saying he's the king of the Jews, the Lord of the world, or whatever it was.
Someone else said that. Oh, okay. Wow,
and
that proves nothing.
The 22nd Amendment's an issue. A man who did not accept a peaceful transfer of power
yeah,
in
he
January
did.
2021. Why would he accept it in 2028? Every time he's ever lost an election, he claims fraud. When he lost to Michael's good friend Ted Cruz in the Iowa caucuses in 2016, he said Ted Cruz stole it. He accuses everyone.
No, he stole it.
But he really cannot handle any kind of defeat. He's a malignant narcissist. He's power crazy. And yes, there is a very real risk that just as in 2021, he tries to stay on in office in 2028. The fact that we're even having this conversation is a reason why you should vote against this motion.
No. I'm sorry. Once again, I'm sorry, man. But I got to say this one more time. The fact you're having this conversation shows the brain rot at the center of the Democrat Party and the people who are singing its praises constantly in the media. That's why you're having the conversation. It's because people like you who, if anybody can't condemn something, it's you who can't condemn anything that Biden did, anything that Obama did, anything that any Democrat leader ever does, but you always have to criticize Trump for everything. It's Trump's fault. It's Trump for everything. It's Trump's policies who you have to cover up and make sure that you get rid of everything he's ever done. It's Trump who, when he ran on a platform of building a wall, decided, let's open the border. What more proof is there of somebody that wants to erase the existence of somebody than doing away with everything the man has ever done, scrubbing his name from history because you despise him that much, and yet the reason you're having the discussion is because of how crazy Trump is. No, it's because of fucking lunatics like you who can't bear to fucking live in a country where Trump won. MLA! Sorry, man, I think you caught me in pissed off mode, but good to see you, man. Yeah, this guy's pissing me off, and I'm having to rant a little bit. But yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. This son of a bitch is going to sit here and say that it's crazy we're having to have this discussion. Yeah, it is crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy that you charge the current president of the United States with a bunch of bullshit lawfare nonsense before to try and prevent him from getting elected. It's crazy that you guys tried to kick him off the ballot in several states. It's crazy that you guys have been basically basing every single policy you ever freaking try to get passed around something Donald Trump did and opposing it or trying to erase it or trying to remove it. It's basically every single thing you guys stand for is anti-Trump, which is reflected by the fact that your party has no messaging. You have no messaging. You have no message. You have no argument, you have no policies, you have nothing. It's just Trump's evil. So yeah, it is crazy. It's crazy as hell. But you guys are completely and totally bankrupt for ideas. You have nothing at all to offer the American people. You just hate Trump so much that, well, Trump needs to be, it's like, just the fact that you can hate this man for no reason other than the fact that he won and beat Hillary Clinton and derailed your precious fucking party's chance from being the forever and always election winners from here to eternity. I don't know. It's just whatever is really at the heart of TDS is very powerful. It's a very powerful force because it's caused some of the most insane freakouts I've ever seen. Like I said, like the fact that, you know, you can go onto TikTok or Facebook or YouTube Shorts or any sort of Instagram, any sort of platform that's going to host short clips of people, and you can find clips of people saying they wish that the latest assassin had been successful in killing the fucking president. And yet we're the extremists. Yeah, we're the extremists. Go ahead. Yeah, Mehdi. Yeah, totally right. Totally right. Just totally on the mark. Once again, as usual. Top-notch reporting. Now fuck off. Jeez. Please, I can't wait to get to Michael's spot because this is nuts. You notice it's not enough. This is the point I was getting at. This was really the main point. I forgot how egregious this son of a bitch is. But the point was, every single time Michael sits there and is quiet and lets Mehdi talk, anytime it's Michael's turn, Mehdi interrupts and interrupts and interrupts and interrupts and interrupts again. He can't let him talk without interrupting over and over and over and over and over again. And you know why? It's not necessarily because he has to interject. It's because he's saying something about Trump that he can't stand to hear. So he's going to interrupt and say, no, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. It is bullshit messaging compelled by a guy with nothing but partisan hatred for the current president and motivated by this incredible fucking desire to have nothing but Democrats in control of the Oval Office from now to, like I said, now to the end of time. And you want to call anybody else a partisan? Yeah, go fuck yourself. Seriously, go fuck yourself.
Violating the 22nd Amendment. That in itself should be enough for Michael to lose this debate.
I'm trying to track what the question was, because Mehdi took us on a journey.
It involved the Pope, it involved me.
Hey, the question had Christianity and 22nd Amendment.
22nd Amendment. That's
Both,
right.
both
Okay,
was in the question. I know you don't want to talk about the Pope.
I was very glad when the president took down the image. Mehdi, being a little confused about things tonight, seems to think I won't criticize the president. I did specifically point out that was a sacrilegious
That's
post.
what I
was
asked.
very
I said,
glad.
did he lie about the Pope's wanting
Can I
nuclear
ever
weapons
have
to
my
Iran?
time to answer, or are you afraid that I'm going to speak?
No, you didn't answer my question. Did he lie about the Pope?
I'm answering
saying
his
Iran
question.
wants nuclear weapons?
I'm not answering your question. I'm
Of course you
answering
won't,
his
because
question.
you won't criticize Trump for that.
So anyway, as I just pointed out, I very publicly criticized President Trump over that post and was actually featured in the international media for it. And very happily, President Trump took down the post. So I was very glad with that. He's also moderated his comments on the Pope, which I think is the right thing to do.
He lied
No
about him
emperors.
yesterday, Michael.
May I
Yesterday.
speak ever in this debate?
This is amazing.
You've actually spoken more of it.
It's unbelievable. So anyway, there have been many tensions between emperors and popes going back to at least Pope Gelasius I in the 5th century. So I'm not surprised that the president's fighting with him a little bit. And I think the president's Presbyterian. Maybe we'll make him Catholic by the end. To the actual question that was asked before Mehdi's very rude interruption, the question was, will President Trump violate the 22nd Amendment? And Mehdi, who's made many very false predictions, including that the free press would disappear if Trump reelected, Mehdi says that he won't leave office. And I'd just like to point out, we know that he will because he did. He did leave office. This is not an academic question or hypothetical. He did. He left office on time. He contested a dubious election, and then he just left office on time, and it was all just normal. And to the point of the 22nd Amendment, there's one president who violated the spirit of that amendment and maybe the spirit of the constitutional norm, and that is a Democrat president, FDR, who did make himself the American monarch and stayed in power until he died.
It just so happens to be the liberal opinion of best president in the history of the country for the most part.
But it's about Donald Trump, and it's a fact that at the end of his life, President Reagan was openly campaigning. In the pages of the New York Times to repeal the 22nd Amendment. You'll recognize it's the 22nd Amendment. It wasn't in there at the beginning. It's relatively recent. I think that we do have term limits. The term limits are at the ballot box. And I actually think that the 22nd Amendment is contrary to American democracy. But much as I would like President Trump to have a third, fourth, or fifth term, I don't think that it's going to happen. We will not get Octavian Augustus Baron Trump to come in after him. President Trump will leave office at the end of his term because that is very much in keeping with the letter and spirit of the Constitution, which I hope I've demonstrated to you President Trump has upheld.
And he's 100% right about that, which is something that, you know, no matter what happens, no matter what arguments they give. MLA, by the way, hold on just a second, I'll get. Yeah, the evidence is clear. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that there's not been one indication, other than trolling the press, which has been funny as hell, but other than trolling the press with fake Trump 28 hats, which has been made very clear by both President Trump and his cabinet that that was a joke when the media was coming into the Oval Office, that he wanted to have those already out on the table to make them think that he was going to be making a bid for 2028. And so Trump 28 hats were on the table. He offered them to the media. They didn't seem to think it was pretty funny because they didn't want to take the hats. Yeah, there's... aside from that, I mean, I think he's already given his word that he's going to leave. He's even said it was tempting to want to stay, but I think I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to break any sort of constitutional norms. I think I want to do exactly the same thing that the previous presidents have done. Which, to be honest, if we're thinking about this in terms of President Trump's ultimate goal, which I believe is his legacy that he leaves behind, he wouldn't want to be known as the president that ran for another term, unlike any other president since FDR. He would want to be remembered as a president and on the Republican Party who successfully brought the country back from a position where we were on a track to self-destruction, which in a couple of terms now he's brought us back from some serious economic strife and serious potential real threat from other countries. But as far as leaving office, as much as they might complain, January 6th, when January 20th rolled around, they were packed, they were out, they're ready, and Biden strolled in, and the new administration began. There was no problem with the peaceful transfer of power. It was transferred exactly as it should have been, no problem. And so anybody on the left freaking out about this is trying to just plant the seed into people's heads that Donald Trump is going to contest this election, because that's what he does all the time. You mean the one other election that he had that he supposedly lost that was in the middle of COVID, where everybody changed all the rules for every state in the country? Yeah. And he lost the court cases on standing because they weren't willing to listen to even the merits of the case. They didn't want to hear the merits of the case. I've talked about this too many times to count. But the point is that there's going to be no such basis this time around. And I think the only thing that is really concerning to me and to probably anybody else is that hopefully if the if the efforts to redistrict all the blue states have done anything, it's reveal what petty and power-mad little children the Democrat Party is filled with today. And their nonstop attempts to pander to minorities and people who are financially in hard times, not help anybody but pander to them and treat them like they are incapable of taking care of themselves is just another campaign strategy. Is really their biggest tool for attempting to try to make an argument for why they would be better suited to be in office. And in actuality, it just revealed, like, there was a hilarious video that came out of this black guy who was reacting to Abigail Spanberger's or no, I think it was Kathy Hochul. Yeah, Kathy Hochul out of New York, who was saying that black people don't know how to use computers, and this guy, this black guy, he's moving around on the ground on all fours, circling this laptop on the ground, and then he moves it, he flips it over, he looks, he's like, and he's playing the clip of her saying that at the same time, like, yeah, we're just so confused by what a computer is and what it does and how to use it. It's just so foreign to black people. It's like, and these are supposed to be Democrats who are in support of protecting the black vote and making sure that black people are these poor black people who are so stupid they don't know how to use a computer. Yeah, man. Wow, what defenders of democracy. Anyway, but yeah, I'm doing good, by the way. I'll pop onto Discord in just a second, man. So you don't have to worry. I'm not gonna disappear on you this time. I do have to run out and grab some drinks, but I'll pop on first real quick. But as far as that goes, that'll do it for this show today. I'm at risk of going way too long if I stay on any longer, because man, today was a long one. Or is it? What? Yeah, we're pushing that. Okay, but I'm back. I'm feeling much better. I hope you guys like my new man. I didn't get to mention it much the last couple times, but I hope you like my new intro screen. I'm planning on fixing a couple of things up just to really spruce it up and make it look really, really sweet. But I'm very, very proud of it so far. I'm also really well. I need to get to a point where I can get back into more regular schedule. But as soon as I am, I've got some stuff to make some, maybe not announcements on, but make some bring up as things I'm trying to get done, because things have been very, I have to say, things have been very awesome to see the steady amount of support, because I've been kind of astonished looking at numbers for past videos. Everything has been going up to a point where they're all coming fairly steady and regularly breaking 100, and it's kind of surprising me that I'm there, but I have to really thank you guys, everybody, whether you're subscribed or not. I would prefer you be, but even if you're not, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And once again, I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, but I know time these days is not always the easiest resource to be able to manage and to be able to have enough time to actually do anything. But nevertheless, the decision to use it here as opposed to use it in any of the other multitude of places where you could use it, I will always appreciate that, and I don't disvalue the time people have. So I try to make sure that that's why if I come on and it's a shitty show, I'll make sure I know it's a shitty show, and I won't waste your time with it anymore. I'm sorry that things have been crazy lately as far as being unable to be on as much, but I'm working on it. I'm really seriously working on it, and I hopefully get some more solid answers, like I said, soon. As far as now, I know the condition. Finally, I've gotten some answers there. I just need to get knowledge about treatment or something along those lines. But that's in progress as we speak. So, nevertheless, it's something I'm trying to not let affect the show too much, because when days like this happen, we get a good stream like this, and it's a good fun time. Oh, I will do that then. Yeah, I'll have to try that out, man, because I didn't know that. Okay, I'll check that out. Anyway, but yeah, nevertheless, I will try to make sure that as far as now, I've been starting every day, because man, I always underestimate the time it's going to take to get all the video clips edited, but I'm working on that, and I did notice there's a big problem that came up, because I realized my computer was getting filled like crazy with videos from clips that I'd saved, and it's like clips from the start of the show that were clips I'd used on very, very early episodes that I still had saved. I needed to get rid of some, so I got a solid state drive, an external solid state drive, and I'm using that as a sort of backup for clips that I think might be necessary, or show backups that might be important to have later on, and just making sure it's not clogging up the PC or overusing disk space, and that's big fix there. So, but trying to make sure the machine, everything's running as efficient as possible. There's also some new software I need to check out, but I hope everything's sounding good. I think I've worked out all the kinks as far as the audio goes, and if that's the case, then things will definitely be much smoother from here on out. But regardless, once again, thank you guys so much. I appreciate every time you guys watch the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and like I said, it means a lot to see that. I'm glad to see people are at least enjoying the show more than I was expecting at this juncture. So, once again, I sincerely appreciate it very much, and I'll be back as soon as I am able to. Probably 2 days. Probably not tomorrow, but the next day. So I will see you guys then. Until then, take care of yourselves. Have a fantastic time, and I'll see you next one. Peace.
In 5, 4, 3. That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live.